The following is a special production of WOBL and WDLW Sports. On Facebook, on YouTube, on air, and online. The Lorain County Sports Network is your home for high school football. It's week 5 of the high school football season, halfway through after tonight. Hard to believe. Season is clearly starting to shape up, and not long from now, we'll start looking at computer points and pretending we know what the postseason will bring. For now, though, let's keep things focused on the teams and the games being played this week. This is the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show on the Lorain County Sports Network. Stewart's should be your go-to. Forget the big boxes. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's in Elyria. I'm Don Vincent. Let's get into the schedule for tonight. We'll highlight the games we'll cover on the network tonight as well. Elyria Catholic enters the night coming off the first win of the year for the Panthers. Tonight, they step into North Coast Conference play, traveling east to Parma to take on Padua Franciscan. The Bruins also check in at 1-3. I think this is a close one. Part of the story will be exactly how many of EC's playmakers are available tonight. Vermilion was surprised last week in that game versus Elyria Catholic. This week, they host Sandusky. The Sailors put their 3-1 record up against the 1-3 Blue Streaks. The Sailors need to put last week behind themselves and get back to the air attack that has served them well early in the season. If they do that, they should be a 2-score winner. Action is picking up in the SWC. 3-1 Olmsted Falls will be at 3-1 Avon. Likely the two teams that you think of this year as leading the conference. That said, Max Preps lists Avon as 8th in the state overall, so clearly favored. Avon made a statement early in the game last week. Falls has played up, getting ready for the conference. A 1-score loss to Mentor and an OT win versus Strongsville. I still think Avon wins in convincing style. 3-1 Midview comes off a tough loss last week at home and takes on 3-1 Berea Mid-Park at Finney Stadium at Baldwin-Wallace. The Middies are coming off their worst performance of the year last week. The Titans beat Amherst by 1 last week. Berea Mid-Park is up, Midview is frustrated. That difference may impact this week's contest. 2 more games in the SWC. We have them both. Our Lorain County Friday Night Lights game on Facebook with Richard Flowers is in E-Town for the Pioneers and the North Ridgeville Rangers. 3-1 Rangers ran into a streaking Avon squad last week and took their first loss of the year. 0-4 Elyria is still looking to get their feet under themselves. Unfortunately, this may be a rebound game for the Rangers in a big way. Our game on WDLW renews an old rivalry that hasn't been much of a rivalry for quite a while. The 1-3 Avon Lake Shoremen host the 2-2 Amherst Comets. This one lines up pretty well. Amherst lost last week by 1 to Berea Mid-Park. The Shoremen had a really good performance, putting up 39 with a very young 2-deep. Dave Granzinski and I will be there in what should be a thriller. Now, let's take a look at the Lorain County Conference. We've got a couple games here as well. We'll start off with 4-0 Columbia at 2-2 Black River. The Raiders have been rolling, averaging 35 points a ball game. It seems to be feast or famine for the Pirates. It's win big, lose big. That said, this is only a couple score difference kind of game. The 0-4 Clearview Clippers are at 2-2 Wellington. The Clippers' struggles are real. They just haven't been able to overcome the loss of some key players. If the Dukes can offer a balanced offensive attack, they should be good by a couple scores. The last 2 games in the conference are featured on the network. Our Lorain County Sports Network stream on YouTube is on campus at Oberlin College for the Oberlin Phoenix and the Firelands Falcons. This is fun to say. The 2-2 Phoenix have showed some promise in their 2 wins. 1-3 Firelands has given up a lot of points early in the season, although last week they picked up their first win by holding Brookside to 20. This one is closer than most think. Bull Barch and Max Drummond will be on the call for the stream. Our WOBL game of the week is in Sheffield at Brookside High. Gary Tollett and Brian DeVito will be on the call for 2-2 Keystone Wildcats taking on the 0-4 Cardinals. Brookside has struggled thus far this season, although last week they found a little offense. They'll need to build on that to take a run at the Wildcats. Keystone does well when their D controls the game. This could get lopsided if the Cards O doesn't show up. Our last game of the night comes out of the Greater Cleveland Conference and is also one of our streams tonight. 1-3 Lorain hosts 0-4 Cleveland Heights. Dave Rivera and Jared Viancourt will be on the call on the Lorain County Sports Network on YouTube. To evaluate the teams, you need to look at who they've played. Lorain High has squared off against Maple Heights, Elyria, Sandusky, and Euclid, who are a combined 6-10. Heights has played Trotwood Madison, Chardon, McKinley, and Strongsville. Overall, that group is 13-3. Could be a tough night for the Titans. We hope your team finds success tonight. Recapping the games on the network. Lorain County Friday Night Lights on Facebook features North Ridgeville and Elyria. On the streams, Firelands at Oberlin and Cleveland Heights at Lorain. Search Lorain County Sports Network on YouTube. On WOBL 107.7 1320 and WOBLradio.com, Keystone will be at Brookside. On WDLW 98.9 1380 and WDLWradio.com, it's Amherst at Avon Lake. The Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner is up next with interviews from both coaches in your game. The Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show continues right after this.
Almost halfway home in the 2025 regular season here in high school football in Northeast Ohio. Week 5 brings us out to Oberlin College. We're here in the 5th week of the season. The Oberlin Phoenix will play host to the Firelands Falcons, and we're happy to have it for you on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week here on the Lorain County Sports Network. Greetings, salutations, and welcome into tonight's broadcast. Andy Bullbarch, pleased, honored, and privileged to be joined alongside my comrades, my colleagues, and co-conspirators. Lorain County's 4 horsemen have made the trek out here to Oberlin tonight. Max Drummond, back after a 1-week hiatus, is back providing the colorful analysis tonight. Our captain is Edwin Vereen. He's the director, and we've got Sam Sovicol working the cameras as always tonight. This broadcast brought to you by Legacy Home Finance, your reliable, trusted, and your local lender. That's Legacy Home Finance. We're welcoming you into our broadcast booth brought to you by GreenPath CPA Solutions, not your typical accounting firm. Visit greenpathcpa.com. Max, great to be joined by you as always as we launch right in to our Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show. Coming into this one, Oberlin, 2 wins, 2 losses, snapping a 31-game losing streak in the process, and the injury-riddled Firelands Falcons come in looking for their 2nd win of the year.
Yeah, stoked to be back out for with the 4 horsemen alongside you guys, and to see an LC8 matchup here. That's why I got a dose of last week, so excited to be back for that, and first time being out here at Oberlin, not only this season, but this is my first time here. It's just a beautiful facility, so looking forward to calling a game from up here.
Should be a good one here. I mean, the records tell some of the story. 2-2 for Oberlin, 1-3 for Firelands. Pregame show brought to you by Stewart's TV and Appliance. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria. Well, let's start out with our field conditions here. No excuses. Sun's out. It's starting to set a little bit. This is the last time you and I can say this on a Friday night. It's our last summer evening for high school football up here in Northeast Ohio, because the next time you and I hit the airwaves, it'll officially be fall.
That's right. We're getting a small dose of summer tonight as we're still hanging out in the 70s, but that fall is peeking through. We're going to have a 7:30 sunset, so these lights will be in full effect, and 8-mile-an-hour winds. So, you know, if these kickers do take the field, it may not affect it, but we'll see if that does become a factor throughout the night, as those field conditions brought to you by Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando.
We hit on this a little bit earlier. We've got to touch on this as well. The injury update brought to you by Illyria Jewelry and Repair, treating customers like family. Well, the injuries certainly haven't treated the Firelands Falcons like family. They've got a long list of injuries, and not just bodies, but key contributors as well.
Yeah, a lot of guys on the injury report heading into conference play, which is the last time you want to see that happen. But a number of guys who are going to be starters, impact players this year, namely Aiden Fortner, a two-way player normally for the Falcons, as well as Jimmy Berry continues to be out on the season, and then a few more on that defensive side of the ball, like Anthony Ridnour and Carson Lima. So just any level you look on that defense and a couple impact players on offense, Firelands likely without them.
Well, having said that, let's take a look at who the captains are for both sides in this one. Captains are brought to you by North Coast Insurance, the North Coast Insurance Group. See Robert H. Garcia, your local Allstate agent in Avon. For Oberlin, it's Drew Walter, Jackson Sicalo, Carmela Williams, Corey Freeman, and Mason Rosenthal. And for Firelands, it's Liam Tobicash, Aiden Fortner, Brady Smith, and Landon Thomas. Those are the captains on both sides. In just a little bit, we're going to hear from both head coaches on our Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner today and tomorrow. Your partner for growth, that's Buckeye Community Bank. But now let's talk about who the officials are for this one. Officials brought to you by Stringer and Gazer, providing personal injury, family law, and workers' compensation cases. That's Stringer and Gazer. The officials for tonight, our head referee is Jeffrey Abshire. Center judge is James Hassel. It'll be Christopher Cabot, the umpire. Linesman is Steve Hayhurst. Justin Burton, the line judge. And the back judge is Bobby Bolden. Those are names that we probably, well, at least we hope we won't have to say a whole lot throughout the course of the night. All right, let's step aside and take a timeout. And here in just a moment, we will launch right into the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner and then come back for more on the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show. We'll get to the keys to the game and much, much more here in just a moment on the Lorain County Sports Network. Welcome into the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. Today and tomorrow, your partner for growth, that's Buckeye Community Bank. And we're catching up with Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke. Coach O'Rourke, we appreciate the time as always. Let's get into some of the growth and the development that you've seen from your players the first 4 weeks of the season. You know, I know you've certainly had to start a lot more young guys than you would have liked, but I know sometimes that could be a good thing too. What kinds of growth are you seeing from some of your younger guys?
Yeah, well, you know, if we're going from, you know, our non-conference to our first conference game, you know, I thought our kids did a tremendous job. Again, backs against the wall, you know, starting the season 0-3. I thought they did a great job, you know, really out of the gate last week, you know, producing explosive plays offensively, getting some stops defensively to take a halftime lead. So, yeah, you know, you always want to kind of break up the season, so to speak, and we kind of consider the preseason games, the scrimmages, along with your first 3 games, kind of like phase 1, so to speak. And it tells you a lot about who you are. And yeah, we are pretty young across the board right now. It's only a handful of seniors playing. But I thought, just to see, little things really, when it comes to, our scheme and technique and seeing kids improve, from weeks 1, 2, and 3. And I thought there was a big jump in week 4. So look forward to seeing how these kids react going through an entire conference schedule. And certainly excited to see them improve each week.
Your running game is always really strong, and it seems like there are a lot of elements to your running game this year, as there are in every other year too. There have been a lot of elements to it. Well, what kind of makes that running game go for you guys this year?
Yeah, certainly it looks different. The last couple of years, you could describe us as, a 2-back offense, with a big veteran offensive line, and we lost a couple of those guys. We kind of adapted to what we're doing. We do a little more, from a technical standpoint, more gap schemes. We allow Liam, our quarterback, to do a lot of reading, of an unblocked defender. So it looks a little more, I guess you could use the word spread, where we get more kids involved. We had a handful of ball carriers last week, but certainly, I think if Firelands going to have an identity, we certainly want to be a team that can establish the run, and then work towards explosive, pass game concepts from there. So didn't really, saw maybe some flashes of it, but not consistently in the non-conference. And then again, last week it really felt like some things were clicking, and our kids finally got into a rhythm.
You had talked about the identity on offense, Coach. Let's flip to the other side of the ball. What would you say the identity is for your defense, and who's at the forefront of that?
Right now, that was probably where, we had the biggest question marks going into the season. I think, looking at week 10 last year, we had 10 seniors, starting in that game on defense. So there was going to be a lot of new faces defensively this year. But I think there's kids that are adapting to their roles. Brett Beery, he's had a tremendous start on offense, and we're certainly, seeing him grow in his role defensively. He's playing, I don't want to say out of position, but something new for him, and he's been doing really well. And I thought, some bright spots have been the play of corner Caleb Crawford. I thought he's had a huge jump, from his sophomore to junior year. And then our defensive line is really a mix of, who's playing up front offensively too. So I think they're really doing a nice job holding their own, and creating some things for again, some young guys that are learning on the fly, on that back end.
You're taking on the Oberlin Phoenix tonight, a team that obviously is playing with a bit more confidence now after winning a couple of games and snapping a 31-game losing streak. As you take a look at those guys on paper and on film, where are some areas where you think they're really going to test you guys tonight?
Well, I think their quarterback, is a stud. I mean, he does everything for them. He's obviously playing quarterback offensively. Defensively, he's a strong side outside linebacker. He's heavily involved in the kicking game and special teams. So a tremendous athlete. I think they are, this is one of the best coached Oberlin teams I have seen over the last few years. They have size up front. They have athletes in the secondary and on the edge offensively that can certainly create plays. So excited for the matchup, and again, to see how our young kids respond, going in to a game after a win. Are we going to be hungry for more? Are we going to kind of fall back a little bit? I'm certainly hoping the latter there, and practice kind of showed that. So, I'm very excited to kind of see how we line up against, this current Oberlin team.
Well, Coach O'Rourke, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck against Oberlin tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Coach. Again, that's Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke joining us here on the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. We'll step aside and take a timeout. We'll come back with more after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. Welcome back into the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show, getting set for kickoff tonight between Oberlin and Firelands. Time to catch up with the coaches on our Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. And right now we're going to catch up with Oberlin head coach Kenny Washington. Coach, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for giving us a few moments here. And, boy, what a start to this season. You had 2 big wins over your first 4 games. Coach, can we kind of spend a minute here on talking about what that's done for the program? You know, the kids in it specifically, for a lot of these guys, they hadn't gotten a taste of winning in a long time, and in the cases of some, hadn't gotten a taste of winning at the varsity level, period. So what has that done to kind of ramp up the intensity at practice and everything surrounding it?
Oh, man, well, you said it, you know. So our seniors, man, is 4 long years for them. And for them just to get their, you know, first couple wins, their senior years, it just works out, you know, just say hard work pays off. And, you know, it's cool now that we can actually taste it, like you said, a win. And now, you know, practice is ramped up. And they can feel, you know, they can feel the energy. They can feel the energy in the school has changed, the communities, you know, talking good about football. And you know, the whole environment really has changed just based off those 2 wins. You know, and they feel it. Practice is ramped up, but really we're just focused on us. We're keeping it in-house. Everything's, you know, solely focused on just getting better, by the snap, by the practice, by the day. So, we're definitely hyped over these 2 wins. We know it's a long season to go, and we know we can win more games. So it's really just, you know, humbling the kids a little bit. You know, we got to celebrate it. But, you know, we went out to Keystone and seeing what a great tradition, what a great program looks like and what we're trying to be. So, you know, the work never stops, and, you know, we got to celebrate a little bit, but it's really just on to the next for us.
What kind of residual effect have you seen, you know, with the program as it kind of trickles down to the youth level as well? I'm sure winning certainly changes a lot of things, but what kind of residual effect have you seen, you know, moving down the line with some of the youth programs?
It was really just getting more kids out. So that's a big thing for Oberlin. You know, a small, tight-knit community, word spreads fast. So, you know, and how we, you know, treat kids in our program, you know, if we're treating them right, treating the kids with respect, they're outside having fun, as long with, you know, coaching some, you know, good football, you know, word spreads fast. And, you know, we were able to start our middle school program back up last year. So this is the 2nd year under our helm that it's running. So, you know, that's going good. I think they just beat Wellington their last Thursday game, 32-16 or something like that. So they're finding their own success. And they get to, you know, come to our games on Friday and, you know, see us putting up good efforts, putting up some wins. You know, we got our first home win in about 6 years. So, you know, some of this stuff, you know, these kids have never seen. So for them to just get that glimpse of it, you know, it sparks, you know, excitement for everybody. And it stems down, like you said, to the youth programs.
Clearly the numbers will tell a lot, but sometimes there are some stories the numbers don't always tell. What are some things that stand out about your quarterback, Drew Walter? Seems like he's a natural leader for you guys and one of the key cogs that's kind of helped you guys come a long ways in winning those first 2 games.
Yeah, like you said, numbers, you know, they tell a little bit, but that kid's a resilient guy. I couldn't tell you, you know, how much adversity, his 3rd head coach, freaking 3 ADs, you know, these kids have had a, you know, a heck of a college or, high school, you know, experience when it comes to sports. So him really just, you know, to rely on us, to trust us, you know, it was humbling for him. Like I said, you know, these kids are on edge, you know, they needed someone to come in and put the time in, you know, with them and earn their trust and earn that relationship. And I think we have those guys, you know, with Drew especially, and a lot of our seniors who really just committed to us, and us to them, and it ended up working out for us.
Looking at some of the guys you have battling in the trenches, you know, some of the linemen, seems like you have a pretty hefty chunk of underclassmen in that group too, and that can be sometimes a bit unusual, but you've got some pretty good size up there. What are some other things that stand out about your group up front?
Again, resilience. I think those guys are just willing to learn. Going into the off season and in the preseason, you know, we're really focusing on our offense and defensive line. You know we have to be able to produce good linemen to be able to compete in here in the LC8. Really a front 7 type of league here. So really just to match that intensity, twist it to make it our own in our Phoenix way. But those kids are just really, really willing to learn, really hungry in the weight room to get stronger, to get better. Like you said, we got some young guys that they're staying in the weight room, just waiting on their shot, waiting on their call. And hats off to that group for just continuing to fight. Even when the numbers, not always on our side, those kids don't give up, man. So, we appreciate those trenches.
Taking a look at what you guys have defensively, who are some of the guys who have improved the most from the beginning of the season defensively for you?
I would definitely give a shout out to Carmelo Williams. He's leading our program in picks. He has 4 picks on the season. So he's been covering that back end and a very vocal leader for our defense. Carmelo Williams is. And then Drew Walter. You'll see him all over the field. He plays quarterback for us. But again, one of those guys that's a vocal leader in the classroom, outside the classroom, on the field, on the practice field, and really covers a lot of ground. So when you got those 2 guys to lean on, senior leadership, it makes our jobs easier. And we appreciate those guys for them going as hard as they do.
Well, of course, you're taking on the Firelands Falcons tonight, a team that got out to a bit of a slow start this season, picking up their first win last week. Coach, what are some things that the Falcons do really well that concern you a bit going into tonight's game?
I think they're a very physical team. I think their record, isn't always true. They played some really tough teams. Vermilion team, I believe a McDonald team, a Bay team, a couple teams outside of their division. So we're really focused on just matching the intensity. Like I said, matching the physicality. They're going to be a big physical bunch. They got some skill guys as well that can do a couple things with the ball. But it's really it comes down to that offensive defensive line. If we can match that intensity and try to out physical them, we'll be in good standing.
Great stuff. Well, Coach Washington, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck against Firelands tonight.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you, Coach. Again, that's Oberlin head coach Kenny Washington joining us here on the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. We'll step aside and take a quick timeout and come back with more after this on the Lorain County Sports Network.
Great to hear from Oberlin head coach Kenny Washington and Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke as well. We appreciate both head coaches for giving us a few moments of their time. With that being said, time for us to put the finishing touches on our pregame show, brought to you by Stewart's TV and Appliance. Shop smart, shop local, shop Stewart's TV and Appliance in Elyria. Andy Bolbarch and Max Drummond on the call for you here tonight. Let's take a look at our keys to tonight's game, brought to you by Williams Brothers Builders, performing site work, concrete, and carpentry with their own forces. That's Williams Brothers Builders.
Well, we'll start with the Phoenix, since you're seeing them take the field now and heading to their sideline, as they sit at 2-2 on the season. And the games they've won, it's come down to taking care of their defense, playing complementary football. So the offense, even if it's a little more of the conservative side, maybe what some might consider boring, but you're doing what you can to win the game. Don't put your defense in any bad spots. And they got a couple of athletes that can make the difference in a 1 or 2 play ball game. So complementary football, obviously every team wants to achieve it. Oberlin has to tonight. And as for Firelands, they're a physical team. Coach Washington mentioned that about them when he had them in the coach's corner. So if you're Firelands, obviously you're down a few guys, but you know your physicality and your size up front. You can try to lean on that, and we'll see if they can take advantage of that tonight.
A few moments ago, we were treated to the national anthem by the Oberlin Marching Show Band. I've never heard of it phrased as such before, but that was really cool. They actually had 3 football players who are part of the marching band as well. Alan Manges, along with Alex Rosmarinovich and Nazir Stiles. They were all 3 lined up out there to national anthem, brought to you by the United States Air Force. Interested in being a recruit? Report to the U.S. Air Force office in Avon. They did the coin toss just a bit ago. Oberlin won the toss, and they deferred. So Firelands will receive the opening kickoff. Coin toss brought to you by the Lorain County Visitors Bureau, celebrating 200 years together. That's the Lorain County Visitors Bureau. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. We'll start offensively for Firelands and also take a look at this Oberlin defense. Max, I'll give the baton to you. You can take a look at that Oberlin defense first.
As we'll start up front with the Phoenix, Jaden Brown, Mason Rosenthal, and Kamante Hopkins along that defensive line. Then we move up to the backers, which probably is their most experienced level on the defense, with Santos Navarro, Drew Walter manning the middle, as well as Jackson Sacalo and Julian Page. And finally in the secondary at the 2 corner positions, Corey Freeman, and Hassan Bell, along with Jason Reese and Carmelo Williams holding down the safety positions.
Here's what that Firelands offense looks like, led by quarterback Liam Tobicash, 6'3", 190 junior. In the backfield, it's a junior tailback, 5'9", $160, number 13, Damari Campbell. The tight end, number 35, Brett Biuri, 6'2", 220, a sophomore. Receivers are number 3, Andrew Pollock, 5'10", 170, junior. Number 8, a sophomore, 6', 155, Jonah Weber. And number 32, Gabe DiFilippo, 6'1", 170. He's a sophomore. We'll get to the offensive line here in just a moment. But first, it is time for our opening kickoff, brought to you by Lorain County Community College. Kick off your future with LCCC. That's Lorain County Community College. Ball teed up at the 40-yard line, ready to kick this one away is Sam Lee, a senior kicker, 5'10", $165. High kick retrieved at the 18-yard line, but we've got some laundry right away. Somebody crossed that line of scrimmage early for the Oberlin Phoenix. Starting lineups are brought to you by Garrick's Tavern. Post-game meals just taste better at Garrick's Tavern in Grafton. While we have time here, we'll take a look at that offensive line. Number 71, Landon Thomas, the left tackle, a junior, 6'1", 240. Left guard, Christian Castillo Books, 5'10", 185 sophomore. He's also a linebacker for them. Center, number 64, Cliff Stahl, a senior, 6', 215. On the right side of the offensive line at guard, Colin Connery, 6'1", 180 junior. And the right tackle, Brady Smith, 6'1", 270 senior. He's also a 2A player playing on that defensive line. We'll try the opening kickoff again. 5 yards further back to our left. Sam Lee. Take 2 with the opening kickoff. He'll kick this one away. High end over end kick, and that's going to bounce out of bounds. Andrew Pollock wisely stepped away and watched that go out on the far sideline. Not a great sign for Oberlin with 2 flags early on.
Yeah, just a couple mistakes here and avoidable ones as well. As you know, Coach Kenny Washington and his staff understands they can't give away free yards like that. But, you know, first game back in the stadium since they got that win a couple weeks ago against Toledo Woodward, maybe a little bit antsy to start this game.
First snap of each half is brought to you by Janasco Insurance. The protection you need, the service you deserve. That's Janasco Insurance. Just about halfway through this high school football season. So happy to have all of you with us tonight on the Lorain County Sports Network. Liam Tobicash, junior quarterback, runs out of the shotgun, calling for the snap from senior center Cliff Stahl. They'll give it to Campbell. He had a bit of a hole up the middle, but it collapsed pretty quickly. Mason Rosenthal was able to wrap up his ankles and stop him at a gain of just 2 yards.
Yeah, and obviously he made the tackle, the lead part of it, but Jaden Brown, the 290-pound junior, right there in the middle of that defensive line, stood up the center, and it led to the stop.
We have a stoppage of play here as there is an injured player down, and that's the tailback, Damari Campbell. So Campbell down right around the 37, and he's going to hobble his way towards that far sideline. Boy, we detailed this during the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show. That is a huge list of injured players for Firelands. That's the last thing they needed.
Yeah, and that's already a position they were trying to figure out after losing Barry, who was expected to be their starting running back, a senior coming into his final year with the Falcons. And they felt like they'd finally kind of found an answer with Campbell as he provided a spark, so you hate to see that.
Finn Pruitt lined up as the tailback here. Pruitt, a senior, 6'1", $180. Tobicash has 4 receivers at his disposal, and he operates with Pruitt off his right hip. It'll be 2nd down and 8 from their own 42-yard line. Tobicash sends a man in motion. It's Powell. He'll fake the handoff, rolls out right. He's got Powell making the catch in the flat on the right side. He tiptoes out of bounds. He got close to the midfield stripe, and it looks like he picked up just enough for a first down, although hold the phone. Now the official on the far sideline says, nope, he's a yard short. They mark him down at the 49, setting up 3rd down and 1.
Well, a big chance here for Oberlin's defense to try to step up, but right there, caught in man, and looked like the linebacker just let a man slip past him.
They get to the line quickly again. Tobicash on a keeper, takes it straight up the middle. He gets hit and dropped at the 48, but he picks up just enough for that first down. He picked up a couple of yards pretty quickly before he was corralled by Camonte Hopkins.
And that's something we heard about in the Buckeye Community Bank Coach's Corner as Tobicash, he's been a little bit more of an athlete this year than he has in the past, and they've been leaning on him. And now with the uncertainty with their starter tonight, they may have to even more.
1st and 10 for the Falcons. They pick up on that 3rd and short scenario. Hard snap count. Tobicash rolling out near side left. He's being pressured. He has to throw this one away. He took a shot from Drew Walter at the end of the play as he let that one loose and wisely just decided to air that one out to the near sideline where nobody could catch it.
Yeah, great pursuit that time by him and the defensive end Hopkins there, as they never allowed him to set his feet even with a blocker out in front of him, and now they get him slightly behind schedule here on 2nd and 10.
So it'll be 2nd down and 10 from the 48 of Oberlin. Opening drive of the game for the Firelands Falcons. Again, they lost Damari Campbell a few plays ago. They'll send Pollock in motion. They're going to keep this one with the quarterback, Tobicash. He takes it straight up the right side, and he's tackled close to 1st down yardage. He got near the 37, and that should be enough to move the sticks. According to the official on the near side, it should be a 1st down. And the rest of the officials follow suit as they tell the chain gang to move forward 10 yards.
Obviously, some deception there, sending Pollock in motion, faking it to him. But that play does not work if senior right tackle and captain Brady Smith doesn't make the block. And great job by Tobicash reading that.
Tobicash will hand it off to Pruitt, but he's belted in the backfield at the 40-yard line. He goes down quickly. Camonte Hopkins in on that stop again.
And they're calling on a lot of different guys, the young guys, to step up there for that Phoenix defense. He's one of them, and we have to, if they're going to win tonight, we need to see a lot more plays like that, that's for sure.
He had some help from Santos Navarro. They combined to make that stop for about a 1-yard loss. 2nd down coming up. Tobicash will have Pruitt off his right hip. Liam Tobicash looks right, throws right, caught by Pollock in the flat. He made one man miss. He's able to get down the right side, and he's able to make 2 men miss. He gets down the sideline and into the end zone. Touchdown, Firelands. A 39-yard touchdown pass. Andrew Pollock with his 2nd touchdown grab of the year, and that'll make it 6-0 Firelands.
And he made that play. Obviously, with the run after the catch, that was obvious. But at the start of that play, he came back to the ball. He didn't just sit there and wait for it outside the numbers. If he hadn't, the man blocking in front of him, that defender could have blown it up by throwing his blocker right into it. And instead, he comes back for it and gets to show off the wheels and a little bit of power. I think I saw a stiff arm near the end as well.
Carter Jones handles the kicking duties, a soccer player that was added to the roster just a little while ago. They'll send the snap back. The hold is down. Extra point attempt is on the way, and he missed it. So it's 6-0 early in favor of Firelands with 9:28 to play in the first quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Liam Tobicash to Andrew Pollock on a 39-yard touchdown strike a few moments ago. That capped a 7-play, 60-yard drive for the Firelands Falcons to make it 6-0 on the very first drive of the game. Just under 9.5 minutes to go here in the opening quarter on our Legacy Home Finance game of the week on the Lorain County Sports Network. Carter Jones will tee it up and get set to kick it back to Oberlin. The Phoenix have Jackson Sacalo and Corey Freeman back deep to receive this kickoff. A short kick, and Navarro will handle at the 30-yard line. He just goes down to a knee at the 31. So Santos Navarro quickly retrieved that. A little surprising that he just kind of took a step back and took a knee and decided not to take any chances.
Yeah, he's not exactly green to the varsity level we saw him on defense there, but evidently didn't want to take any chance there. And the 32-yard line, it's not bad starting field position at all. Just when Firelands gets at the 40 to start their drive, it looks a little different in comparison, that's for sure.
This Phoenix offense led by quarterback Drew Walter, 6'2", 195-pound senior. And it's a running game that we expect to be led tonight by Jason Reese, a freshman, 5'8", 173. They put Jackson Sakala with the backfield. Walter takes the snap. They give to Sakala. Sakala turns it up the field, collides with a couple of Firelands defenders at the 35-yard line, so he picks up about 3 on first down.
Yeah, it looked like he had a tough time trying to find where he wanted to attack the hole. It even looked like he may have bounced it outside for a moment, but just cuts it up and takes what the defense gives him that time.
And what a story this Oberlin team is. Snapped a 31-game losing streak with a win a few weeks back, taking care of business against Brooklyn, and then the next week doing it again against Woodridge. Fell last week to Keystone in their LC8 opener. Corey Freeman lines up in the backfield here. They'll pitch it to Freeman. Left side, trying to stretch this play to the far sideline, but he gets dropped. Brett Biuri tears him down to the 32.
And the way he plays, obviously their leading receiver on offense, but with the physicality on defense, you would not guess he's a sophomore.
Well, he got to that edge pretty quickly. Corey Freeman has been pretty involved in the running game this year. 45 yards so far on the ground and a rushing touchdown.
And that's what they're forced to do at some points, whether it's him, Carmelo Williams. You got to get some of these speedsters the ball, even if it's trying to be creative or put them in different spots. So we'll see how often we see him in the backfield tonight.
3rd down and 10 from their own 32. They send Sakala in motion to the near side. Walter back to pass. Looks, fires across the middle, and the pass falls incomplete. In and out of the hands of Corey Freeman. He was open, and he would have had first down yardage, but just could not haul that one in, and that'll bring up 4th down.
And a great job there tricking that Firelands defense, getting them to look at Sakala as it seemed like a bubble screen may have been setting up. So definitely went to the right spot with it, just a tad high, but it's one you got to bring in when it hits your hands.
Pollock back inside his own 30-yard line to receive this punt. Drew Walter handles the punting duties for the Phoenix. They'll send the snap back to him, and he'll get this one away. A high spiraling kick angling toward the far sideline. It bounces out of bounds near the 25. Good-looking punt from Drew Walter.
And he not only helps that defense, helps himself out a bit as he'll be out there obviously leading the charge from linebacker. And you, in a way, get the Falcons to force them to work with a full field now instead of what they were gift wrapped last time.
One thing that stands out here so far, Max, I mean, we're not quite 5 minutes into this thing, but, the confidence. You're starting to see that from a team that didn't have any of it the last few years.
Yeah, it's really coming forward, and, maybe at some point it was only an individual or two, but now you can tell as a unit there's a lot more moxie to them.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch this thing growing again. When we walked into the building, there was a different sense of confidence, again, that did not exist a little while back. They give to Pruitt, makes one man miss. He gets tripped up, and he goes down along the numbers on the right side. He got to about the 29, so he gets 4 yards.
And this is an offense that you can just tell from how they operate. They're a bit different than they have been in the past with the style they're going with. Normally in the past, 2 running backs, under center, a lot of I formation. Now they've been forced to kind of spread it out, and they may have to double down on that with new running back in tonight.
And again, in case you're just joining us, Finn Pruitt, the tailback. Damari Campbell was injured on the first play from scrimmage. Pollock comes in motion. They'll hand it off to him, trying to turn the corner. He breaks a couple of tackles and works his way up to the 31. Boy, it looked like they had him back around the 27-yard line. But as he's done a couple times already, he's made that first wave miss.
Yeah, Corey Freeman, the corner, set the edge beautifully, and it looked like he was going to crash down and sandwich him with a couple other Phoenix, but somehow he slips through, and it's a much more manageable 3rd down situation now.
They need 4 yards on 3rd down. Firelands with a bit more of a spread look this year. Coach O'Rourke detailed that a bit during the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. There was some movement up front. We've got whistles, and it's going to be offsides against Oberlin, and that's going to give Firelands a first down.
And it's another instance of just making the Falcons not have to work for it. We saw it at the opening kickoff, a couple penalties there. It's just small things like that that can add up to being tough to overcome.
We're used to seeing Firelands in a two-back set, but again, bringing up the injuries, sometimes it's players over plays, right? And you've got to work to the strength of your personnel. Tobicash grabs the snap. They give to Pruitt. He works the middle. He gets hit and dropped to the 40-yard line. Julian Page stood him up before a couple of extra bodies could come in there to help him clean that play up.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of first down runs tonight, predictably so, from Firelands. That's where they'd rather be, even despite some of the injuries and issues in the backfield. But seen a lot of that, and it's already set up a play action one time and a sweep motion the other time. So got to imagine they'll keep going at it until Oberlin can slow it down.
Firelands traditionally has run the ball pretty well. Tobicash rolling out to the far side, looking down the field, and the pass is caught. He's able to get that to the tight end, Brett Biuri, at the 50-yard line. Now they're whistling. That's incomplete. Hit the turf.
And it was so close to being a big play to move the chains there. And if you're Tobicash, that's exactly where you had to put it, with Oberlin Phoenix defender bearing down on his tight end Beery that time. I believe it was, Carmelo Williams getting close. So you don't want to put that anywhere near him, leading the county in interceptions so far.
And that's a guy that could change the game in a hurry. 4 big picks, including a pick 6, helping them seal the deal in one of their victories a couple weeks back. 3rd down and 6 for Firelands at their own 40. They sent Pollock in motion. Back to pass Tobicash. Now he wants to keep it. He wants to run. He'll get past the 40-yard line, but he's tripped up along the right hash. He's going to be short. They'll spot him down at the 44-yard line. And 4th and 2 coming up for Firelands.
Great job there staying home by Hopkins as he just maintained the spy. And as soon as Tobicash decided there was nothing downfield, he was ready for him. And that's another instance. We talked about it right after first down of Firelands trying to set up some plays. But right there, good job by Oberlin to shut it down.
They'll keep the offense on the field here on 4th down and 2. Pruitt the tailback again. They'll send Pollock in motion. And we have whistles. There was some movement, and they're going to say this is going to be a false start against Firelands, and that'll make this an easier decision on Coach O'Rourke. He'll send the punt unit onto the field.
Definitely the logical choice to send that punt unit out there. But if you're Coach Kenny Washington, that's growth in one series. I mean, last time you let them extend one because you jumped in right there. Everybody staying honest and holding their water.
So they get set to punt this away. This is fairly high, takes a bounce, and it's recovered right around the 26-yard line. For a moment, looked like Carmelo Williams wanted to take off, and then he kind of stumbled and just fell forward.
Yeah, a couple Falcons bearing down on as the punt coverage. It's been pretty solid tonight so far.
Gabe DiFilippo limping off toward the far sideline now for Firelands. And it just seems like it's one after another for the Falcons.
And he's a guy on offense. I mean, he lines up a receiver most of the time, but he's got over 15 carries this season. And with what we've already seen, they may have had to turn to him now. We'll see if that plays a role in their depth here and who they choose to go with.
6-0 Firelands. First quarter, 4:20 left in it. And we have some laundry. A penalty going against Oberlin. And this is going to march them all the way inside their own 15-yard line.
Wow.
And they'll spot that. Well, we thought inside the 15. Now the official spotting the ball isn't quite sure where he wants to put that.
I guess it happened during the punt since the chains went with them, not on Sportsman. I mean, they moved them so far back. Wow.
He's back around the 13-yard line. Walter will put some men in motion, and the snap was sent back while those guys were in motion, so that's going to cost them another 5.
Certainly a few things to get cleaned up now on this drive as we just complimented how they ended the defensive series. But some unfortunate mistakes right now, and the ball game in the balance.
Well, and we talk about the swagger, right? We talk about the confidence. You're seeing some of that, but these are the little things you've got to clean up. because after you pick up some momentum, you force Firelands to punt it away. Now all of a sudden you've marched 20 yards backwards before even sending a snap back.
And some guys, they may force or push a little extra here when you don't want to see that.
They'll pitch it to Corey Freeman. Freeman trying to turn the corner left side. He was able to escape one defender. He works his way up to about the 6. He had to go a long ways in order to get back close to the original line of scrimmage. I'm not sure he picked up anything there. That'll bring up second down and long.
Yeah, and right now we're just seeing Firelands defense continue to string these plays out. And I know there's some speed on that offense for Oberlin, but a lot of the time, especially going into the boundary like that, you're not going to get much. And yeah, it doesn't look like they credited them for anything on that one.
They've got to get to the 24-yard line to pick up a fresh set of downs. Second and long here. Walter has 4 receivers at his disposal. Grabs the snap and he drops back. We have a flag looking down the field. Walter throws this one and it's intercepted. Picked off at about the 15-yard line. It's Pruitt and he takes it into the end zone. Touchdown Firelands. It's a 15-yard pick 6. And that'll make it 12-0 Firelands with 3:16 to play here in the opening quarter.
And in the keys to the game, that's exactly what we hit on, is that you don't want to put your defense in any bad spots. Well, right there, I mean, the defense isn't going to have a chance to try to make a stop. Great job by Pruitt there taking it to the house, but it looked like there may have been a procedural penalty as well anyway if that did fall incomplete, so just a tough series there for the Oberlin offense.
Yeah, they never really seemed like they were in sync or on track. We talked about the penalties that led up to that, and you're right, if that pick 6 had not occurred, it looks like they would have been dinged for another. Firelands going for 2 here. Liam Tobakash with Pruitt off his right hip, and we've got some more laundry on the field. And it looks like they may have had too many men in the field. That is indeed the case. Penalty won't cost them much, but they'll move maybe a yard closer here, just inside that 2-yard line. And another 2-point conversion coming up here for the Firelands Falcons. Tobakash going to keep it himself. Right side marches his way across the goal line. The 2-point conversion is good, and that'll make it 14-0 Firelands with 3:16 to play in the first quarter on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. It's on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Finn Pruitt, a 15-yard pick 6. A few moments later, Liam Tobakash takes it in for the 2-point conversion, and that has Firelands on top of Oberlin 14-0. Just over 3 minutes to play in the opening quarter. Glad to have this one for you on the Lorain County Sports Network. Andy Bullbarch, Max Drummond on the call. Edwin Vereen is our director. Sam Sovakul is working the camera. Kickoff retrieved by Carmelo Williams. He'll run out of bounds on the far sideline. He stepped out close to the 33. And Max, will see if this Oberlin offense can kind of hit its stride here and find some sync offensively.
Yeah, now they'll have much better field position, a lot closer to what they had on their opening drive. And we'll see if that allows them to move a little more traditionally here, not feel as much pressure to make something big happen on one play to get them out of a tough situation.
Well, before they even sent a snap back on their last offensive series, they had marched backwards 20 yards, and because of that, they were forced to set up shop in the shadows of their own end zone. They've got a little extra breathing room here. Drew Walter leads this passing attack, and if you heard Firelands head coach Ryan O'Rourke during the Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show, he had mentioned that he thought Walter was an absolute stud, not just at the quarterback position, but he flies all over the place. He's all over the field. It's a keeper. Walter takes it left side. Plenty of room to run. He gets to that far sideline, and he's knocked out of bounds. He went out near the 47.
Right there we get to see a little bit more of him in his comfort zone, as he was very patient on that, but as soon as he knew he was keeping it, he went full speed downhill, and great play to start that drive after what they went through on the last series.
They'll spot him down at the 48. That's a real nice pickup of about 15 yards on first down. That's the best play offensively for the Phoenix thus far.
And the first time he's opted to keep the ball, so I'm sure we'll see him go back to that a lot more often.
Reese, the tailback. 3 receivers lined up on the near side. They'll give it to Reese. Reese gets to the edge right side, and he gets drilled inside Firelands territory at the Falcons 47. And we've got 2 or 3 separate flags on the field, all in the same area.
Looked like a couple guys were locked up there on the edge of that O-line. Julian Page for Oberlin and Andrew Sigsworth on the defense for Firelands. And neither were willing to give up ground, and it just led to that stalemate. And I guess that's where the officials were probably looking at the point of attack.
Our head referee is Jeffrey Abshire. He said there's 2 infractions. It's a hold against Oberlin, and it's a personal foul against Oberlin as well.
Well, I think, Sam did get that in the shot. Sam, I'm familiar with the second signal he used there, so.
Looked like Superman, right?
Yeah. Wasn't sure if he was keeping the stripes on. But maybe I did see a face mask at first, and this looks like the yardage backed up, so maybe that's what he meant.
Wasn't sure if he was going Superman or Incredible Hulk. Either way, it costs him 15 yards. They'll send a man in motion. It's Sakalo. They hand it off to him. Sakalo is dropped immediately. Tried to turn the corner right side, just couldn't do it. And once again, Finn Pruitt right there on the stop, setting up second down and long.
He came up like a missile that time to the line of scrimmage to shut that one down. And he's been very active on defense, and we expected that tonight. I mean, he comes in with 22 tackles on the season. He's added a couple more here. But, filling in at running back, he still has more yards on that interception than he does running the ball tonight.
And again, they're getting pretty deep on that depth chart as far as that position goes. Losing another body on the first play from scrimmage tonight. Walter throws right side incomplete. Was looking for Sakalo in the flat, but he just couldn't hang on to that. And there was some pressure pretty quickly in the face of Walter before he let that loose. It'll be third down and 23.
We haven't had much of a chance to see Walter throw from a clean pocket this evening. So he certainly, a lot of these are rushed, or he's trying to get them out in a hurry, and that's definitely affecting some of the timing on these routes.
It's youth night here for Oberlin. It was a lot of fun, Max, to see a lot of the young kids getting out here to take in the action tonight. You're trying to rebuild the program. Well, that's a big part of it, getting the youngsters involved and getting them excited. Walter back to pass, has some time to throw, airs it out down the near side, looking for Carmelo Williams, but the pass falls incomplete. Pretty good coverage that time as well from Caleb Crawford, the junior. He was with Williams stride for stride.
Crawford, he's been a real bright spot, and honestly, one of the most experienced guys they have back in that secondary with some of the injuries they've sustained. So I know he was mentioned directly when you were speaking with Coach O'Rourke, so he's definitely been a bright spot back there on that defense.
Great punt last time for Walter, looking for another one kind of like that this time around. Andrew Pollock inside his own 25-yard line. Ready to receive this punt from Walter. He got a nice spiraling kick away last time. High snap. He pulls it down with ease. Gets it away. This is a bit of a wobbler, angling toward the near sideline. It went out of bounds right around the 45. Not exactly sure where that went out, but we'll let the officials sort that out. And based on the initial spot, looks like they'll say it went out near the 46. Nope, 45. Spoke too soon.
Either way, really good starting spot now for Firelands. And with the way their offense was able to move a couple drives ago, we know they don't necessarily need a hand in that, but they'll certainly take it here.
Firelands with a 14-0 lead, 1:58 to play here in the opening quarter. Haven't seen their offense in quite a while. Their last score was a pick six from Finn Pruitt, who's been inserted into the offense here as the tailback with the injury to Damari Campbell. Tobakash looking to pass. He's in some trouble, has to scramble. Works his way to his right. He's going to tuck it and run. Angling toward that far sideline. Takes a shot at the end of the play from Carmelo Williams. He went out near the 50-yard line.
Well, he tried to use the pump fake there to open up something down the field, but the pressure it didn't allow him to buy that time. So rolling right, he takes what he can. But Brett Bury, they're going to see in film tomorrow. He was standing there wide open, and he may have had a chance to pick up a first down and more.
And it looked like they were trying to set up a screen on the near side, right? They were looking for Andrew Pollock, but Oberlin had that covered very well. They need 6 yards on second down. Liam Tobakash grabs the snap. They give to Pruitt. Huge hole up the middle. He's to the 40. Takes a big pop from Williams, but he's able to spin down to the 35 to pick up first down yardage and then some. And the chain gang will get a pretty good workout here.
That they will. That's one of the few chunk plays we've seen outside of the touchdown pass earlier. And it looked like just a trap up the middle, and the Oberlin defender shot too far upfield, and there was nobody left at the second level to slow down the running back that time.
A couple of pretty big thumps on this drive from Carmelo Williams. He's been pretty active.
And he's been forced to, and obviously we mentioned the impact he can make in the passing game, but he's also having to be a big part of stopping some of these big runs.
Pollock will go in motion. Tobakash rolling out, far side right, takes a shot as he lets that one loose. The pass falls incomplete. Mason Rosenthal applying the pressure. And Rosenthal a little slow to get up.
And you can tell he's fighting to stay on the field right now.
Made a nice play there, though, forcing Tobakash to get rid of that.
Well, and he's a guy, he's one of these seniors that has really stepped up and put the team above himself. In years past, I'm pretty sure I remember he was a skill position guy. He was a lot more active in getting the ball and being around it. And now he's kind of taking a step back and willing to be on the offensive and defensive line for them and help them whatever way they can. And those are steps right there that really helps a program come a long way.
He was able to get to the near sideline, so he came off the field. He's replaced by Sebastian Alvarez, junior, 6'3", 208-pounder. Second down and 10 for Firelands. They're at the Oberlin 35-yard line. Liam Tobakash is going to keep this one himself. He's able to get away from two defenders, gets inside the 30, and they'll mark him down to the 29.
That's one of those plays where you're Oberlin, you're going to look back on because you had a pair of guys in the backfield that may have been able to stop him there and force a 3rd and long. Now, with around 3rd and 4 to go, they're going to have to defend a lot more of the field now and possibly brace for a run here even.
And they're at a spot in the field, too, where this is probably 4-down territory. They'll send Pollock in motion. Tobakash hands off to Pruitt. Big hole up the middle. It takes a few different Phoenix to knock him down inside the 20. They'll spot him down at the 17-yard line. Another first down, and that's another trip inside the red zone, brought to you by Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services. Selling or buying soon? Visit superstevesells.com.
Got to give some credit right here to one of the guys up front. He's not normally one of their starters. Cam Jones over at the, I believe he's on the interior of the line right now. He's been a reason they've opened up some lanes here on this drive, and got to imagine they'll keep following him.
And that's going to take us to the end of the first quarter. At the end of one, it's Firelands 14, Oberlin nothing on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. It's live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. First play of this second quarter. It'll be first down and 10 for Firelands. Back to pass. Tobakesh fires left side. Caught by Gabe DiFilippo. He gets hit inside the 5-yard line. He'll be stopped at the 3, and that'll set up the Falcons' first down and goal.
Real shock play there, kind of to open up the quarter here, as they've been hitting a lot on the ground. And right there you catch Oberlin by surprise, him through the air on a first down play.
Well, it's good to see DiFilippo back on the field. He had hobbled off a few moments ago after a kickoff. So he's back out there again. First down and goal now for Firelands. They're at the Oberlin 3. Tobakesh grabs the snap. Rolling out near side right. He's going to tuck it and run, and he takes it into the end zone. Touchdown. Second trip to the end zone for the Firelands offense tonight. This a 3-yard scamper from Liam Tobakesh. The junior quarterback punches it in to make it 20-0 Firelands.
And that's a great job there, just to kind of put the team on your back, finish off a drive, make sure you secure points there. Don't bother messing around with second, third, or even fourth and goal.
Carter Jones missed that first extra point attempt. On for his second to try and make it 21-0 Falcons. They'll put the hold down. Extra point is on the way, and this one is good. It's 21-0 Firelands with 11:29 to play in the second quarter on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week on the Lorain County Sports Network. A 3-yard touchdown rush from Liam Tobakesh a few moments ago makes it 21-0. Firelands on top of Oberlin. Not quite 35 seconds gone from this second quarter clock, and so far Firelands pretty much in sync offensively, looking for their second win of the season. Jones with a high pop-up kick. This will be retrieved by Carmelo Williams at about the 30-yard line. He's up to the 35, and he's tackled at about the 37.
Great job there. Hayden Tobakesh shutting that down before it got any further. And, just a freshman, you expect to just see him on special teams, but he's made a few appearances on offense tonight at tight end, helping spell the starter Beery. So I'm sure we may say his name a few more times if he's going to be that active out there.
And with the amount of injuries that they've had, again, they're seeing lots of underclassmen, seeing some meaningful snaps. Firelands picked up their first win of the season last week, defeating Brookside 40-20. Before that, they had fallen to Edison, Vermilion, and Bay, and those were all lopsided losses.
Well, year in, year out, they always challenge themselves in non-conference play. I mean, it's going to toughen you up one way or another.
Of course, we saw Vermilion last week, and a bit of a shocker. Fell to Elyria Catholic. Drew Walter. Back to pass, looking right, nothing there, dumps it out left side, and it's caught by Reese. Reese gets to the 40-yard line, takes a pretty big shot at the end of the play. After getting to the 40-yard line, picks up 5 yards after Max Brown, the cornerback, came up to stick him.
Well, that right there just looked like a backyard play you draw up in the dirt, because he looked outside for 2 different receivers and had to ditch them both. Goes to his third read right there and, find something there to get the drive started.
He's been working with a pretty clean pocket so far as well. Some pretty big bodies on that offensive line for the Phoenix. Walter's going to come up under center. Going to put Corey Freeman in the backfield. They'll give it to him. He's able to work his way up the middle, pushes his way up to the 44. And now a 3rd down and 2 scenario facing the Phoenix.
That's quite the impressive run considering how many guys they had stacked in the backfield and on the ends of the line of scrimmage there. As Firelands, they could have sold out for the run. Instead, it's a nice 4 or 5 yard pickup there to help them out on third down now.
Looking for some momentum on offense. Been tough sledding on that side of things so far for Oberlin. They've got to get just past the 46-yard line for a fresh set of downs. Drew Walter will have Jason Reese off his left tip. They'll give it to Reese, but he has nowhere to go. That play was blown up immediately by the defensive end, Landon Thomas, a junior, 6'1", 240. He tackles him for a loss of about 4 yards.
And for a dive play, it was a little more slow developing than you'd like to see, and that bought some time for him to crash in there and blow that play up.
4th down and 6. And again, the same personnel remains on the field. We've got a whistle and a timeout taken by Oberlin head coach Kenny Washington. Timeouts all throughout the night are brought to you by Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran. Securing and organizing real estate documents, that's Lorain County Recorder Mike Duran. We'll go ahead and keep this one here. Want to remind you that coming up at the half, we have the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. We'll take a look at some first half stats. We'll get you a scoring recap. We'll rate the dog and also get you a look at some other scores from across the area as well. We're not that far away, my friend, from taking a look at some of these potential playoff scenarios as that picture gets a little bit clearer.
I'm excited to see how the new 12-team format looks. Obviously, 8 in the past, and we've seen it come up to 16. So could this be that happy medium everybody's been looking for? And some of the matchups that could come out of that could be pretty exciting.
And I think it's different by region, right? You talk to a lot of people around here, right? Division II, Region 6, 12 doesn't seem to be enough. No. Division 1, Region 1, well, 16 was way too many, to put it mildly.
Very fair.
Offense stays on the field on 4th down and 6. Walter surveying the field, dumps it down the field, incomplete. He was looking for Corey Freeman, but the pass went way out of bounds on the far sideline, and Oberlin will turn it over on downs.
Yeah, a few guys kind of running in similar spots there in Sakalo and Freeman, so not a lot of separation to be had there, especially in what looks like has been a lot of zone coverage tonight for Firelands, just trying to keep everything in front of them, and it's definitely worked to this point so far, limiting any explosive plays.
And again, it's probably a little too early to look at playoff scenarios, but it is worth mentioning. We talk about the great year that it's been so far for Oberlin. They did come into this one, according to Joe Eitel, as the 8th seed, Division 7, Region 25. Liam Tobakash setting up for a pass, has time, throws left side. The pass is caught along the far sideline. Pretty good stick at the end of the play. He was able to complete that, though, to Jonah Weber. And he's got close to first down yardage. I think he should have enough. They'll mark him down at the 29, and that is indeed enough for a first down.
Well, and a lot of the attention was on the side of the field closer to you on the bottom of the screen there as Beery as well as Pollock were going down the seam, and it looked like both safeties went up that way, and there was just one corner left on an island over there, and he was forced to give quite a cushion, leaving up a lot of yards to be gained.
A good stick at the end of the play by junior corner Hassan Bell. Oberlin has certainly been tested defensively in this one. Their defense has given up 2 of Fireland's 3 scores so far. Tobakash will drop back, now facing pressure, throws near side. The pass is caught, but it's caught out of bounds. He got that to Gabe DiFilippo, but again, he caught it out of bounds on the near sideline. So 2nd down and 10 coming up.
Tobakash had a long way to go to get that throw over there, even to be near DiFilippo. So the fact that it was that close to him getting a couple feet down, that was a pretty impressive throw considering where he was going from. Opposite hash.
Firelands has traveled pretty well as we look across. You can hear the band off in the distance for the Falcons. They made the trip as well. Not a bad trip. Tobakash will set up the pass again. Screen, caught, left side. Pruitt makes the catch. Down the sideline he goes, and he's torn down inside the 20 at the 17-yard line. And they'll move the sticks again.
And right there, just using some deception as the motion man went opposite side, and they just set up a screen right there to Pruitt, who is turning into quite the do-it-all player tonight for the Falcons.
That was a name we expected to say a lot defensively. He's one of their linebackers, came in with 22 tackles, 3 for a loss. But we didn't expect to say his name very often offensively. But he's been all over the place. They'll spell him here as he checks out for a moment. First down and 10 at the 18. Powlick in motion, it's a keeper. Tobicash, room to run, up the middle, inside the 10, and he barrels his way in for the touchdown. Third touchdown of the night for Tobicash, second on the ground, and that'll make it 27-0 Firelands.
Well, and you'll see on the replay here, great shot by our man on the cam, Sam, as Colin Connery, I mean, it was so wide open in the middle, he didn't even have anybody to block. He turns around, his quarterback's in his lap, running it into the end zone. So just great execution by the interior of that O-line. And once again, we see the motion helping out set up the rest of this offense.
Carter Jones on for the extra point. 1 for 2 in that category tonight. And the kick is on the way, and it is good. It is 28-0 Firelands with 7:38 to play here in the second quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. A few moments ago, Firelands taking advantage of terrific field position, started at their own 40-yard line, and Liam Tobicash found the end zone with his feet for the second time tonight on an 18-yard touchdown dash, his third touchdown altogether tonight. Kickoff sent toward the near side. It's retrieved by Jackson Sakala at the 21. He takes it up the middle past the 30-yard line. He redirects toward the near sideline, spins his way up past the 40 to the 41. Excellent return by Jackson Sakalo.
Well, right there, Firelands, they actually stayed in their lanes, but that's what ended up, what bit them trying to bring him down there. Sakalo, he cut back, and a lot of those guys that had set the edge initially on the side closest to us, they probably thought, oh, he's wrapped up, the play's over, and he's able to sneak forward for a few more yards.
That was the deepest a kickoff has gone for Firelands tonight. And you get the impression the way they've been kicking off, they're trying to avoid getting the ball into the hands of the likes of Sakala and Freeman and Carmelo Williams. It'll be first down and 10 from their own 40. Oberlin turned it over on downs inside their own territory last time they had the ball. Walter takes the low snap. He'll keep it himself left side. He's able to get out of a tackle. He's going to run down the far toward the far sideline, turns it up the field, fires it down the field. The pass is somehow caught by Hassan Bell at the 50-yard line. How in the world did they complete that pass? A nice job by the quarterback, Walter, of keeping that alive, and a nice catch in traffic by Bell.
I mean, I want to know how he slipped out of the grasp of Cam Jones. I thought that was going to be the most exciting part of that play. He would just get rid of it, but the fact that he was able to find a man downfield looking like Houdini out there.
They say he went out at the 49, so that'll be a 9-yard pickup. A Houdini act indeed, my friend. If we're watching that replay right now, well, even on the replay, it's hard to believe he somehow was able to thread the needle there.
Well, on the run, just outstanding job by Walter there.
And as you mentioned, looked like he was dead to rights for about a 5-yard loss. They'll hand this off to Freeman, trying to turn the corner left side. He does. He's able to get to the near sideline. He lost the ball. It's on the turf at the 31-yard line, and Firelands will come up with it. Corey Freeman had big yardage, and then the ball was ripped out of his arms, and Firelands will recover it. And Freeman still down at about the 30-yard line, but he's able to get up at the end of the play.
Max Brown, the freshman corner, mind you, did not give up on that play, chased him down and was able to poke the ball out. And who else but Finn Pruitt to come up with it?
A name that we have said a ton tonight. Well, it's just been one of those nights for Oberlin. That was a real nice run, but they lose the ball at the end of it. So with 7:09 left in the second quarter, it's 28-0 Firelands. And with another score here, if nothing changes when we get into that second half, the running clock is certainly something that will be put in play. Tobicash will send Powlick in motion. They'll hand this one off. He lost the ball. It's on the turf at the 25-yard line, and Oberlin recovers it. Moments after coughing it up at the 30-yard line, this Oberlin defense is able to return the favor. They come through with a huge turnover, and now they've got the ball at the Firelands 25.
So not only did Sakala second-tain strip the ball, he also has the wherewithal to jump on it. And now, I mean, easily the best field position either team has seen tonight.
Just what they needed after a huge run. They lose the ball on a fumble. They get it right back one play later. Jackson Sakalo, as Max mentioned, coming up with the strip and then jumps on the loose ball. So this Phoenix offense will get to go right back to work. Drew Walter. Coach Kenny Washington talked about him during the Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner. And now he's taken on the role as a leader of this team. He'll keep it himself. Runs right side, then he redirects toward the middle, barrels over a defender, and he gets up to about the 19-yard line.
And obviously with the scoreboard being what it is, we haven't had a chance to see him do that as often, but that is definitely the best part of his game. And I got to imagine opens up more of this offense, and it keeps the second and third level a lot more honest on those play actions and some of those read plays.
And you think about, what a lot of these guys, the seniors in this Oberlin team have gone through. That losing streak gets brought up time and time again. I mean, when you're playing this game at the high school level, it's tough to stay in there and just continue to take your licks. So I can only imagine how rewarding it was to get that first win in the second week of the season, to snap that 31-game slide. This senior class for Oberlin, they've been through a lot. They'll pitch it left side to Freeman. Freeman makes one man miss, gets to the sideline. He's to the 10, to the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown, Phoenix. A 19-yard touchdown dash for Corey Freeman, and Oberlin's on the board.
And talk about redemption right there. They don't hesitate to give the ball back to him. Obviously one of their better players. And also his mate down there, Carmelo Williams, maintaining his block throughout pretty much the entire play. Awesome teamwork that time. And as you saw on the replay, just a lot of explosive potential anytime these guys touch the ball.
Sweet redemption, as Max mentioned. He was able to make one man miss, and the second he got to the sideline, you knew it was off to the races. On for the extra point is Sam Lee. And we've got whistles. And that came right before they sent that snap back. And Corey Freeman has to come off the field, and they're going to replace him with Santos Navarro. Don't know if there was an equipment issue or what it was, but they're making him come off the field for some reason. And Sam Lee looked like he would have made that field goal from 30 or 40 yards. Well, there was plenty of distance on that. And now he'll have to line up to kick it again. A low snap. They get it down. The kick has plenty of distance again, and he's able to split the uprights. 28-7 is our score with 6:01 to play in the second quarter. Firelands leading Oberlin on the Lorain County Sports Network. 19-yard touchdown rush for Corey Freeman. And that will get the Oberlin Phoenix on the board. They're trailing Firelands 28-7 with just over 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Glad that you've all made us a part of your Friday night on our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Lorain County's Four Horsemen coming your way from Oberlin College tonight. Andy Bolbarch, Max Drummond, Edwin Vereen, and Sam Sovacool. Lee will kick this one away. Short kick that goes out of bounds on the near side, a procedure penalty. Oberlin will get the option of making them re-kick or just getting it at the 40-yard line. Well, a couple of big plays there, Max. The fumble, forced and recovered by Jackson Sacalo. And then just 2 plays later, Corey Freeman, who fumbled it moments before that, gets redemption by taking it into the end zone.
And I'm going to use one of the words I think that was most commonly used in that coach's corner with Coach Kenny Washington, resiliency, right? And it just proves on those series 3 in a row right there and how they were able to bounce back and come up with something here as we are halfway till halftime here in the second quarter.
At the 35-yard line, to correct my statement from a few moments ago, they'll hand this one off to Brett Biuri. Biuri trying to get across the edge on the left side. He goes out of bounds and he barrels over one of his defenders on the far sideline. He collided with Jonah Weber at the end of that play. It's tough to tell where exactly he stepped out from here. It was near the 40, about a 5-yard gain.
Well, obviously, guys, they get pushed in practice, and you would like to think you're 100% going against each other, but those are your own guys. So very rarely you get to feel the force of what your own teammate does on a Friday night. Right there, unfortunately, Weber now knows how hard he can hit.
Biuri had a few carries coming into this game. Not often you see a tight end get the ball. Usually they're involved in the running game, but in a much different fashion. This time they give it to Pollock. Pollock redirects going toward the middle. He's looked like he got out in open space for a moment, but that hole closed pretty quickly, and he's tackled at the 50-yard line. So another fresh set of downs for Firelands, and we have an injured Oberlin Phoenix down on the field right around the area where that play came to a close. And I believe that's Julian Page, one of the seniors on this team. Now, one of the things you frequently discuss when you're trying to grow the program, right, especially when you're talking about a smaller school like this, Division VII, you're trying to get those numbers up. And they've got a decent chunk. I mean, coming into this game, I think it was a little bit less than 30. But I think, one of the things I really enjoyed about my conversation with Kenny Washington earlier this week was the realism in that, knowing that if this thing's ever going to grow the way they want it to grow, it's got to start at the youth level. And he said, we've been working hard to try and get that going. He also said he had at least a handful of kids join the team after the season began. So I think it becomes pretty infectious. You start to win some games, not only do the people at the youth level notice, but a lot of the classmates for some of these guys, they begin to notice. They want a part of that action.
Yeah, and some of these guys that were already on the team entering the season and through camp may have been trying to get in their ear and say, hey, why don't you come out? And maybe they're on the fence. Well, turn around, you start the year 2-1. That's a pretty good selling point. And like you said, at the youth level in the middle school, I love that he mentioned how the middle school is doing. A lot of these coaches, we see they're more involved in getting out and seeing these games. They'll even do interviews while they're out there with us. So that's a very cool thing. And as for the freshman class, I mean, it makes up a third of this roster roughly. So that's at least a real positive step moving forward beyond this season, where they've already seen some nice positivity and some steps taken.
And a lot of those guys that joined the team a little bit late, they're linemen too. That's also something you don't normally see.
You can never have enough linemen, guys that can fill in the trenches. It's very important.
A late addition coming into the game to substitute the injured Julian Page. Page thankfully walked off under his own power. It's Davion Cosby who comes in. Tobicash drops back, has lots of time to throw. Now he's being pressured, escapes to his left, dumps it down the field. A sliding attempt is made by Pollock along that far sideline, but it goes incomplete.
Obviously not able to get him down for a sack, but that all came down to the coverage, guys staying home and just keeping eyes on receivers. And we talked about that freshman class, and right there, you mentioned it. Cosby comes into the game, and he did a good job right there sticking on Gabe DiFilippo and not letting him get open.
2nd and 10 for the Falcons. A 3-touchdown lead for Firelands with just under 5.5 to play in the second quarter. Pressure coming from Oberlin. They'll hand this one off to Pruitt. He gets straight up the middle, works his way inside the 40-yard line, keeps the legs churning, and he's tackled at the 35. A 15-yard pickup on 2nd and 10.
I'll tell you what, the right side of that offensive line, they were a paving crew right there. Combination of Colin Connery and Brady Smith. I mean, before you even see the halfback hit the hole there, their defender's around 6 yards downfield. That's moving people.
And they're actually going to say forward progress was halted at the 39. Or no, the ball was laying at the 39. Now they've got it marked off at the 35-yard line. So my apologies for the confusion there. I thought that was kind of strange. I thought sure he got up to the 35.
Yeah. Everyone else was adjusted, just the ball had to be moved. Wow.
1st and 10 coming up here for Firelands. Pollock in motion. Tobicash rolling out left side. He's got Pollock in the flat. He's able to get inside the 25-yard line. A nice shoestring tackle made at about the 21. We do have some laundry on the field. Jackson Sakalo on the stop. And that flag was thrown close to the area where he sprung loose. That's in the area where you normally see a hold.
And with how close the ball was caught to the line of scrimmage, so it appears there were guys blocking downfield, but I guess they determined they were doing it legally right there.
They wave off the flag. So the flag is waved off. And it'll be 1st and 10 from the Oberlin 21-yard line. Liam Tobicash gives to Pruitt. Up the middle he goes. He broke one tackle, fell forward along the left hash to about the 14. But there was another flag thrown. Again, in the area where you typically see a hold. And it is indeed going to be holding against Firelands. And another injured player down in the field. Well, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of that in this game, Max, on both sides.
Yeah, it's starting to add up now here in the second quarter. And especially we know coming into a league like the LCA, a lot of guys are going to play both ways anyways. But, you know, for Oberlin, it's a different beast being a whole division lower than anybody else in the conference. So they know they're going to have to rely on a lot of guys to play a lot of snaps. And this can sometimes obviously be an outcome of that.
It's funny you bring that up because Coach Kenny Washington said the exact same thing. He said, look, you know, we have to find a way to make sure our identity offensively kind of fits in with what you see from a lot of those other teams in the Lorain County League, right? Because you have to be able to run the ball. There's no other way around it. You have to try and match the physicality of the other teams in the LC8. And he's exactly right. I mean, everybody in that league is pretty physical. Everybody in that league, for the most part, knows how to run the ball. The only two teams who have ever won that conference, they run the ball exceptionally well.
Yeah, you read my mind there perfectly because we've seen, obviously, in recent seasons now, Keystone, Columbia, they can have an element to their passing game. I think one of the guys that kind of falls by the wayside for the Raiders over the recent few years is Carter Calamaz, one of the quarterbacks that filled in there. He had quite the arm to pair up with Marcos Rigliano, and then last year, obviously, Zach Shackelford, he could do it all. So, but the core identity that they always relied on and came back to was the ground game and leaving it up to their lines of scrimmage to decide the game for them.
The injured player is Santos Navarro. They're still taking a look at him near the 13-yard line. Want to remind you again, coming up at the half, we have the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. We'll get you a scoring recap. We'll take a look at some first-half stats. Look at the area scoreboard as well. This game started at 7:30, so most of those games, my guess, are already well on their way into the fourth quarter at this point. If not, for sure, they're in the second half. And as always, to catch all the scores and to go beyond the scores, make sure you check out the post-game show. John Guzik, Paul Williams, David Q, Johnny G are back at the Radio Ranch, not too far from here. And they'll take you up until 11 o'clock tonight. and fill you in on all the details in week 5. Injured player off the field will get back to action. First down and 20 after the holding call. Tobicash, play action fake, facing pressure, throws right side, and it's caught by Pruitt. Pruitt is drilled by Sakalo at the 26-yard line.
Sakalo really starting to find his rhythm on defense. Obviously forced the fumble the last time they were out there. Right there, nice formal tackle to prevent anything else. And we've seen a couple times on this drive, the Falcons' weapons on offense, they can make a few guys miss if you let them.
Second and 16. Got about 4 yards on that first down play, and they had to go a long ways to get 4 yards. I'm a little surprised. Oberlin is, or I should say Firelands, has put the ball in the air as often as they have. They'll throw right side in a tight end screen. Caught by Biuri. Biuri is held up at the 25-yard line. Like gang tackling at its finest there. I mean, it looked like Corey Freeman, one of the first guys in there to kind of hold him up, and about 5 extra bodies came in there to help out. And we have timeout called by Firelands. We'll take this timeout as well. Oberlin trailing Firelands 28-7 with 3:36 to go in the second quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Coming out of that Firelands timeout, it'll be third down and long for the Falcons at the Oberlin 26-yard line. They've put the ball in the hands of Liam Tobicash. He's made things happen with his feet and his arm tonight. He drops back, surveying the field, dumps it out left side, caught by Pruitt in the flat, inside the 25-yard line. He's got first down yardage and then some. He took a shot at about the 12, and he stumbled forward inside the 10 to the 8-yard line, setting up Firelands first and goal.
Well, and before a couple of broken tackles there by Pruitt, I was about to comment on how great the back end of this secondary in coverage has been and forcing a lot of checkdowns here since we've come back from the injury timeout. But right there, even if you got the checkdown, you still got to finish off these plays.
Where they were, there was going to be 4-down territory for Firelands if they did not pick up the first down there. I'm sure they probably would have kept the offense on the field, but they get big yardage in that third down scenario. Now they're inside the 10-yard line of Oberlin again. Tobicash sets up for a pass again. Lobs this one for the back of the end zone. It's knocked away, incomplete. Asan Bell on the denial there in the back of the end zone. A great play, setting up second and goal.
Yeah, giving up a lot of size there in the back end of Bury, but great job playing that ball in the air, getting his eyes turned around, and almost even boxed him out towards the back line there of the end zone.
Coming up on the 10th play of this drive. And this Firelands offense has taken a lot of time off the clock as well. Another injured player, that's Julian Page, who went out a few moments ago, came back in. Now he's coming off the field again. Well, Page is a big miss. 29 tackles, 3 tackles for loss on the year. That's a guy you need on the field with Firelands marching again. Pruitt and Pollock both in the backfield with Tobicash. Tobicash fires right side, caught by Pollock, but that play's blown up at the 10-yard line. Carmelo Williams with a big stop. About a 2-yard loss. And Carmelo Williams continues to come through big for Oberlin.
And, I thought the play action would fool Oberlin a bit more, but a lot of the eyes just stayed on the quarterback there. And as soon as Tobicash let it go, they knew exactly where they were flowing.
Pruitt's off the left tip of Tobicash. As we're now inside of 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the second quarter. It's 3rd down and goal. Tobicash hands it off to Pruitt. Pruitt gets inside the 5-yard line, barrels his way close to the goal line. He's going to be a little bit short. They'll spot him down at the 1.
So it's interesting, even though they spread him out, Oberlin trusted those guys out in coverage on the top side for the trips formation, faked the bubble screen. But even with still having 8 guys in the box, it wasn't enough to slow that down and leave up a huge play right here for 4th and goal.
There's a little confusion with the personnel for Oberlin. They're shifting things around in that defensive front. Tobicash is going to hand this one off to Pruitt. Pruitt able to push his way across the goal line. Touchdown, Firelands. A 1-yard touchdown plunge for Finn Pruitt. And that'll make it 34-7.
And they had the play read as well, just not able to finish off the tackling there, as Pruitt was very determined, as he has been for the whole night, as he stepped in flawlessly here at the running back spot for the Falcons this evening.
Carter Jones on for the extra point. The hold is down, extra point on the way, and Jones will put it through. 35-7 Firelands, $1:26 left in the second quarter on our Game of the Week, brought to you by Legacy Home Finance on the Lorain County Sports Network. Moments ago on 3rd and goal, a 1-yard touchdown rush for Finn Pruitt, his second trip to the end zone tonight, and that makes it 35-7 Firelands. There was some confusion for Oberlin as they had an issue trying to get the right bodies in the right spot, and even though they didn't have the matchup they wanted, boy, they still made that pretty close. Carmelo Williams will retrieve the kickoff at about the 24-yard line. He takes it past the 30, tripped up as he falls down at the 40-yard line. So with 1:20 to play, we'll bring something up here we talked about off air. With the confusion there, 2 timeouts left, that's a spot maybe you think about burning one to see if you can get the right bodies in the right place.
Yeah, you might have had the potential there to get the stop, and obviously you would have been backed up on your own 1, but you get the ball to open the half, so if you're looking at 28-7 and then a fresh start to open the third quarter, that may have been more favorable, but try to let it fly and let it run with who you had out there.
Firelands has had a lot of success in the running game tonight. And you thought that they might because, when things are going well for Firelands, they're running the ball really well with a lot of different bodies. There is another injured player down in the field for Oberlin. And I believe that's Carmelo Williams, who was on the kickoff return. He's able to get back up, and he'll jog to the near sideline. But they've actually taken a lot of shots through the air, Firelands has, and it's not something I think that we were expecting in this game, but they've placed a lot of the onus in this game on the right arm of Liam Tobicash. And to his credit, he's come through tonight.
He has. I mean, they've let him drop back 16 times. He's also added on 7 carries to that, so the offense really run through him.
Walters up under center for Oberlin. They'll come out in the I formation. Pass goes across the middle, incomplete. He was looking for Corey Freeman and a quick hitter across the middle. 2nd and 10 coming up.
And like we mentioned, getting the ball to open the third quarter. I was interested to see how aggressive they'd be here. Obviously still looking maybe to sneak some points on the board here before we hit halftime.
35-7 Firelands. Certainly a bit lopsided, but we mentioned this off air. It doesn't really feel like it's that lopsided. I mean, Oberlin, for the most part, they've had some self-inflicted wounds, the pick 6, a lot of penalties. I think they've played better than that score would indicate.
Yeah, you've got those elements, a few guys getting nicked up, including, looks like Rosenthal. He may not re-enter this game, so you're obviously already shorthanded coming in, and you'll blow to one of your best up front. So they're still hanging They're fighting here tonight.
Walter rolling out to the left, looking down the field, dumps it across. The pass falls incomplete. He was trying to get that to Jackson Sakalo. Brett Biuri on the coverage, able to knock that away.
And we've seen a few times where he's been on the run and in some tough spots trying to get rid of the ball, and he almost seems to like pop it out of his hand, and especially rolling against his across his body there, it definitely makes it a lot tougher to complete that throw right along the sideline.
Tough to find a rhythm for the Oberlin offense, and a lot of that has to do with the way this Firelands defense is played. They've kind of smothered them for the most part. That's one of the main reasons why they just haven't been able to get in sync. Walter hands it off to Sakalo. He's able to get across the edge right side. He takes it up to the 46. And it'll be a 4th down and 4 scenario here with inside of a minute to go in the second.
Well, certainly just a nice median gain there to give Firelands the illusion he may keep that offense on the field, and we'll see how many seconds tick off before they have to snap the ball.
Both teams do have a couple of timeouts at their disposal. Inside of 30 seconds to go in the second quarter, Oberlin doesn't appear to be in too big of a hurry. Their one scoring drive, they were set up with a short field after Jackson Sakalo forced to recover a fumble. 2 plays later, Corey Freeman, a 19-yard touchdown rush. We've got flags. That came all the way back in the secondary. That might have been a delay of game. Indeed it is. So it's a delay of game on Oberlin. A little odd. They waited until there were 14 seconds left in the game clock. And the way they got to the line so slowly, I mean, Max, it almost feels like they did that on purpose.
Yeah, it did feel intentional, and not sure if that's to give your punter a little more, obviously, with Walter handling those dudes, give him a little more room to work with and maybe take some more time off the clock here. If he does choose to punt, we'll see.
He's in a position where he could pooch it. He's lined up in the shotgun. He'll take the snap, drops back, looks down the field, airs this one out down the left side, looking for Carmelo Williams, but it falls incomplete. Threw that into double coverage, and Williams is one of their playmakers, a guy they want to get the ball in the hands of, but just couldn't quite haul that in. And now there are 6 seconds left, and Firelands will take over at the Oberlin 40. So they've got a little bit of time here to take one shot.
And as soon as he dropped back and we realized he was committing to throwing the ball, I was wondering if we were going to see him buy as much time as possible until he saw zeros on that board. But right there, obviously saw a matchup he liked. And why wouldn't you with Williams? Even with the over the shoulder, it looked like he may have almost come down with that. But now we'll see if their defense can help him out.
Liam Tobakesh, a name we've said a lot tonight, throws left side. The pass is caught out in the flat by Caleb Crawford, and he'll take it out of bounds on the far side, and that's going to take us to the end of the second quarter. So Caleb Crawford gets involved in the passing game on a quick hitter to the flat on the left side, but they spend all 6 seconds they had to work with, and it is officially halftime here at Oberlin College. Your score halfway through this one is Firelands 35 and Oberlin 7. Coming up here in just a minute, we'll launch right into the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. If you have insurance questions, call Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. We'll rehash this first half. We'll get you some stats, a scoring recap. We'll also take a look at some scores from across the area and much, much more in just a few moments here in our Legacy Home Finance Game of the Week. It's live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Welcome back out to Oberlin College here in week 5 of the high school football season. 35-7 is our score at the half. Firelands leading Oberlin. And with that, we officially launch right into our Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. Insurance questions? Call Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance in Amherst. Happy to have this one for you. Lorain County's Four Horsemen live and in living color here out at Oberlin College. Andy Bulbarch and Max Drummond on the call. Edwin Vereen is the captain of our ship. He's the director. And the long flowing locks of Mr. Sam Sovacool working the camera tonight. Boy, 35-7 is the score, Max, but I think the score doesn't tell the entire story. I think Oberlin's played a little bit better than that score might indicate.
Yeah, a little bit misleading as we saw them put in a couple tough spots at one point there in the first half, and it led to kind of an avalanche of sorts. But it was only for a few minutes of actual game time where you really felt like they were getting really outplayed. As the half went on, they showed a lot of toughness and resiliency, which is obviously one of their key phrases and things to live by as players, so, and as a team. And I think it also will reflect a little bit in these stats as we go over them here shortly and a few other key things from that first half.
Well, let's take a look at how the scoring was done in this one. The very first drive of the game for Firelands, they went 60 yards on 7 plays, and it was a 39-yard touchdown pass from Liam Tobicash to Andrew Pollock. After forcing a couple of punts, Oberlin would get the ball back, and they were forced to go deep inside their own territory. As a matter of fact, they had to send a snap from the shadows of their own goal line, and the end result was not good for the Phoenix. It was a 15-yard pick six for Finn Pruitt. That made it 14-0. Then they forced a 3-and-out, and they would get the ball back at their own 45-yard line, the Falcons would, and they would march right down the field again on just 7 plays, a 3-yard touchdown rush from Tobicash to make it 21-0. Oberlin turned the ball over on downs on their next drive, and Tobicash would use his legs to get into the end zone. This one from 18 yards out, making it 28-0. Oberlin had the ball inside Firelands territory. Corey Freeman turned the corner on the left side. He got to about the 30-yard line of Firelands. Then he had the ball ripped out of his hands. Fumble was recovered by Firelands, and then 2 plays later, Jackson Sicalo was able to get Oberlin the ball back, and 2 plays after that, sweet redemption for Corey Freeman as he took it in from 19 yards out to make it 28-7. But the final score of the first half would come from Firelands, a 1-yard touchdown plunge from Finn Pruitt on 3rd down and goal to make it 35-7. That's our count halfway through this one. Let's take a look at our stats in the first half, brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA. It's all about the numbers. That's Al Januzzi CPA.
Yeah, a lot of great field position there in that half for the most part, and I think it's led to some of these drives being maybe shorter, even though a lot of them have ended successfully for Firelands. So the yardage may not stack up as much as 35 points you would think. So starting on the ground is typically where their identity is and what we expect from them. They've stacked up 105 yards so far, around 5.8 yards per carry. So they've been able to do that to stay on schedule and to keep giving them opportunities in the passing game, which, like you mentioned in the first half, they did a lot more of. 11 of 17 for over 130 yards there for Liam Tobicash. So a lot more pass attempts I'm sure he's used to in a typical Friday night, but it's been working pretty well, and they've been letting their guys make plays after the catch. And then looking over at Oberlin's side, we've seen a few chunk plays on the ground, including the big 19-yard touchdown by Freeman, and that he ended up being the leading rusher behind Walters. Those two have combined for 41 yards so far, and not much to speak of in the passing game, but we may see more of that here with the deficit being what it is.
Yeah, 35-7, a little bit lopsided. Both teams have been dinged up a bit throughout the night as well. We've seen some key members on both sides go down. You know, Mason Rosenthal is a pretty big player up front for Oberlin. He went out. He hasn't returned. Julian Page, a linebacker and an offensive lineman, he's kind of come in and out with injuries. And on the other side, I mean, look, we thought we were going to say the name Damari Campbell a lot tonight. He got injured in the very first play from scrimmage, and he hasn't returned. And Firelands came in with a lot of injuries already. And in week 5, those are the kinds of things that start to loom large as we get down the home stretch here. And I think we're probably a couple weeks away from really taking these playoff rankings and these computer numbers seriously. But these are the kinds of things you start to look at now. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. Going into play today, according to Joe Eitel, Division 7 in Region 25, Oberlin had the 8th seed on lockdown. But again, a lot of things can change between now and the end of the season. And for Firelands, they're in a pretty loaded region in that Division 4, Region 14, with the Shelbys of the world, the Clydes of the world, and the list goes on and on. There's so many really good ones, Vermilion as well. So that is a loaded region. And if they're going to get back in that conversation, they have a lot of work to do in the second half of the season. But those are the kinds of things that we can now start to look at as we get to the second half of the season.
Yeah, they've got to find other guys that can step up and have some reliable depth. And fortunately for Firelands, being in the position they are in this game, they can test that a little bit more. But even so, we got to see a lot of it in the first half. A few guys that maybe we didn't expect to see get their hands on the ball. Like, obviously, their leading rusher for the night, Vin Pruitt. And, in a couple of weeks, maybe they have to turn to him again. Not necessarily because Campbell's not in the game, but they just need somebody else, another change of pace guy. And then, obviously, Tobicash being the runner that he has tonight as well. So it could present a lot more problems for teams moving forward here in the LC8.
Right now, we are enjoying the sights and sounds of the Oberlin High School Marching Show Band. Did a wonderful job during pregame with the national anthem, and they're doing an excellent job out here tonight at halftime. We'll take a timeout here on the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. When we come back, we'll take a look at the area scoreboard, see what's happening at other high school football stadiums in and across the area. While we're on that note, want to remind you to tune in to WOBL and WDLW. Also follow that Facebook page as well so you can see that live stream. John Guzik, Paul Williams, David Q, and Johnny G are back at the Radio Ranch ready to update you when the radio broadcasts are done for both of our games tonight. They'll have you covered as far as the final scores and going outside the scores as well to talk to some of the game-winning coaches and players in the area as well. Your score at halftime again, Firelands 35, Oberlin 7 on the Lorain County Sports Network. welcome back into the Jeff Allison of Health Markets Insurance halftime show. Firelands 35, Oberlin 7 at the break. Andy Bulbarch, Max Drummond on the call for you. Edwin Vereen, our director. Sam Sovakul is working the camera tonight. Every Friday night, we have the honor and the luxury of rating the dog, courtesy of Brian Victor of Howard Hanna. Brian says enjoy the game, and we've had a lot of fun enjoying our fair share of hot dogs in this one. Now, on the road last week, you weren't with us.
That's right.
So you were absent at Elyria Catholic. I thought it was a pretty sensational dog, but I'm kind of curious, where were you last week, and what did you taste last week?
So we stopped by Clearview, and I learned where it actually lies in Sheffield Township there. You know, there was a lot of talk, but is it Lorain, or is it – there was a couple cities in question, but we stopped by there and had a decent dog. We came in at right around a 3.5 average, I think.
I got to tell you, because we've got time to go ahead and rehash the first half of the season as far as the rate the dog goes. I think the leader in the clubhouse for me, our friends down at Black River High School. That was absolutely sensational. Our man Edwin Vereen doesn't miss a beat. He asked athletic director Rob Clerico, is that garlic butter they put on there? And Coach Clerico said, I don't know. He kind of just tried to dismiss it, even though Edwin sent off the alarm. He knew the secret ingredient. I worked with Coach Clerico for many years. He did some color commentary for some broadcasts. I did the play-by-play for us, so I got a pretty good read on that. I think we hit the secret ingredient, but it was fantastic. I would say that's my favorite so far.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. And, you know, normally because we don't get the condiments or the toppings on, we eat plain. So I don't know if that counts as cheating or not, adding the garlic butter. But since it's not directly on the dog, it's on the buns, I'm definitely allowing it. And the flavor was great. For me, it either is there or North Ridgeville in week one. We had a really good dog. So it definitely came down to that for me.
See, I missed North Ridgeville in week one. I
That's
do
right.
remember, though, last year at this time, we were in North Ridgeville for their matchup against Elyria, and I remember that being a sensational dog. There's very little that they don't do right there. I mean, it's such a great setup for us, such a wonderful broadcast position. That facility is just top-notch. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the dogs are fantastic there also. But, yeah, I would say so far, leader in the clubhouse down at Black River. And they take that seriously because during the postgame show, Coach Clerico and company came up, and they were really curious as to what kind of grade they were given to for our Rate the Dog segment. Again, it's brought to you by Brian Victor of Howard Hanna. Let's take a look at some scores from in and across the area tonight in the LC8. Boy, this is a bit of a surprise. Brookside has had a bit of a tough season. They're tied at 14. At our last look, they were tied at 14 with Keystone in the third quarter. Again, you can hear our guys, Brian DeVito and Gary Talon on the call on WOBL of that one. Columbia leading Black River 14-0 in the fourth quarter. Clearview all over Wellington 23-0 in the third. Course right here at the half, 35-7, Firelands leading Oberlin. And the SWC, well, it doesn't matter how good Olmsted Falls is because they always have sensational teams. They just can't get over the Avon Eagle hump. Tonight, no different. At the end of three quarters, Avon leading Olmsted Falls 28-0. Avon Lake and Amherst having a terrific game as we figured they would. Right now, the Shoremen leading 28-21 over Amherst. Berea Mid-Park doubling up Midview 28-14. And North Ridgeville having their way with Elyria 35-0 in the third. Padua on top of EC, 7-0. Cleveland Knights up 22-6 on Lorain. And the Vermilion Sailors looking to rebound after last week's loss, which again was a bit of a surprise at the hands of Elyria Catholic. They were blanked by the Panthers. Well, Vermilion doing the blanking so far tonight. They lead Sandusky 37-0 in the third. We will see Vermilion in a couple of weeks. We will go to Sailor Nation when they take on Port Clinton in 2 weeks. And we'll also see Elyria Catholic again. We see them next week when they take on St. Vincent St. Mary's. So that's what's on the docket for us over the next couple of weeks. Only down 7-0 to Padua as far as EC goes. That's a much different score, I think, than a lot of people were anticipating because Padua certainly got ahead early last year and then never looked back. So that's a closer score, I think, than a lot of people would have expected.
Yeah, and, you know, they lose a really great playmaker. I know they had in the Padua, that is, at EC. I mean, we know they've had their issues on defense, but like you said, to have it within a touchdown game right now in a spot where it looks like their offense may be having a little trouble getting going, it's a very reliable thing. That may be a carryover from last week, slowing down Evan Coons the way they did.
Yeah, they bottled him up. It was really impressive to watch, and while they bottled him up, they got their own ground game going with Zion Castillo. Went over 200 yards in that game, had a touchdown as well, and he was picking up yardage in big old chunks to a point where that score, I felt like, was even a little misleading. 17-0 was the final score, but really at the end of it, we walked out of there feeling as if EC had won that game like 35-0.
It was a lot more comfortable than it may have been on the board, like you said.
Just about set for the second half kickoff. Kickoff's brought to you by Lorain County Community College. Kick off your future with LCCC. That's Lorain County Community College. Oberlin won the coin toss and they deferred, so they will get the kickoff here to get us going in the second half of action. Let's revisit some keys here in the second half before they kick this thing off.
Well, it's a little tougher to do now, as obviously they face the deficit, but we wanted to focus on Oberlin's offense, not pressing too hard, not making too many mistakes, but now they may have to try and open it up a bit. And, you know, Corey Freeman, Carmelo Williams, Jackson Sakalo, I mean, those could all be guys that make something happen in one play. And as for Firelands, obviously we saw a lot of what they were able to do with their passing game in that first half. Now that they've maybe found a bit of a rhythm with Pruitt, they can try to lean on him a bit more and cut into a good bit of this clock here in the second half and get out of here with a win.
Carter Jones will kick it away. End over end, retrieved by Sakalo at about the 15-yard line. Sakalo takes it straight up to the 30-yard line, tried dancing around a bit before he was taken to the turf near the 34-yard line. Hayden Tobakash, the freshman, there to take him to the turf. And now we've got whistles and another injured player down. This one, a Firelands Falcon at the 35. And that's in the area where the play came to a close. And we're at that point of the season where it's probably still just warm enough where maybe the cramping still plays a role in this one. But in this game, both teams have just had to endure one injury after another. It's the next man up mentality, but just feels like we've seen a little more of that in tonight's game.
Yeah, and obviously that's something a lot of coaches preach and they want to see done and put in action. But when it's actually, when you're in the middle of it, it can be a very adverse thing and it can kind of weigh on you a bit. And it also, I guess, to try to find a silver lining, it maybe reminds guys that are on the sideline right now, like, hey, your number could be called at any second. And you'll have to go out there and play your role, do your part for the team.
I feel like the football gods have done us a solid because it's supposed to go down after the rain comes through at the beginning of next week, so the temperatures are going to feel fall-like next week. Pretty fitting, right? Because we will officially be in the autumn season. But the last summer Friday night that we have together, we're not enduring the heat. We're in this nice air-conditioned booth, man. This is awesome. I love the digs here at Oberlin College.
I was almost about to mention, I may be getting a little chilly. I might adjust this thermostat behind you, and we'll see if you notice the difference here.
Evan Lowe is the injured Falcon. He's back up to his feet, and he's making his way toward that far sideline. Coming up on the first half of the second half, it's brought to you by Janasco Insurance. The protection you need, the service you deserve. That's Janasco Insurance. Drew Walter trying to put something together for this Oberlin offense. He's got three receivers to his right. Carmelo Williams lined up near side to the left. And they try and hand this one off to Jason Reed, but he is nailed to the backfield at the 32. That's a loss of a yard.
And we haven't had too much of a chance to see him tonight. As I think he said at the top, we expected him to be the lead back, but they've just tried to send a lot of alternate looks, some motions to try to maybe confuse this Firelands defense, but a few times he has gotten it. There haven't been many lanes for him to work with.
Reese on the left side of Drew Walter. Walter's a good-sized quarterback at 6'2", 195. Had a profound impact with both his arm and his legs. Looking left, throws left, caught by Williams at the 40-yard line. Breaks a tackle, gets to the 50-yard line, and he's dragged down at the Firelands 46 for a first down. It was Finn Pruitt who finally got to him, but not before he got about 4 yards inside of Firelands territory.
And if they're going to give a guy like Williams that cushion, you got to exploit it every time and just let him try to make something happen after the catch. He even broke a tackle there. And definitely would like to see him get a few more chances like that, especially, I mean, once again, just about one-on-one here on the bottom of your screen.
And he's getting a pretty big cushion to work with. They'll send him in motion. It's Sakala. They throw right side, makes the catch in the flat, turns it up the field, gets inside the 45, and he's escorted out of bounds along the far sideline. They'll spot him down near the 42.
So really solid job there by Sakala to kind of split the defenders. It looked like when he had to backtrack for a moment, he would have been brought down at the line of scrimmage, but just somehow slips through and follows a good block by Corey Freeman.
4-yard pickup on first down. So far, pretty strong drive for Oberlin to begin the second half. They've got the same personnel on the field, bunching up 3 receivers to the right. Walter grabs the snap, looks left, throws left, caught by Williams at the 35-yard line, trying to wiggle his way out of a tackle, but he goes down at the 31. He'll pick up a fresh set of downs. Max Brown, the freshman, got a hold of his legs and just never let go.
If he knew if he did, he'd probably get out of there and find his way to the end zone. But, you know, we saw in the first half a great job by the Falcons keeping everything in front of them, not allowing any big plays. But right now we're seeing a lot of the underneath stuff being taken advantage here by Oberlin, and that's something we didn't see in the first half, so it's definitely a great adjustment they may have seen during halftime.
Ball at the 31 of Firelands. Walter going to keep it. Takes it. Left side. Made one man miss. He gets to the numbers on the left side, and he's corralled to the 25-yard line. Takes a licking. Keeps on ticking.
I think I heard you say a couple plays ago, 195 is what he comes in at in the weight class, but he plays a lot more like a guy that's well over 200. I mean, the way he gets behind his pads there and puts his body on the line to get some more yards.
They put a pretty good-looking drive together. The other time they scored, they had great field position coming off of a turnover. They had the ball at their own 40-yard line. A couple plays later, they were able to take it into the end zone on a touchdown rush from Freeman. Walter with time to throw. Rolling out to his right, looking down the field. He's going to keep it. He's going to run. He gets hit at the 35-yard line. He was run down at the very end of the play. What pretty good pursuit by that Falcon defensive front, and that was the linebacker, Christian Castillo-Books, who got to him.
It's a solid job not giving up on that play, and also chasing down Brady Smith as he didn't have a spot to cut back because of Smith also trying to track him down, and I believe we'll see the first third down on this drive here for Oberlin.
3rd and 4 at the 25. The drive started at their own 34 after a nice kickoff return by Carmelo Williams, and they've called his number a couple of times on this drive. Firelands showing pressure. Pass goes left side, caught by Williams. He takes it inside the 15-yard line, tackled at the 13. He gets another first down.
And that's been an unstoppable formula right there, as he's just lined up as far out as he can go. And Walters has put it on the money every time. He's hit him on whether it's just a little hitch or a curl route. He's just sat down right where he needs to find some open space and make it happen after the catch.
Spot him down at the 12. They're inside the red zone. Again, the red zone brought to you by Steve Lawson of Russell Real Estate Services. Buying or selling soon? Visit superstevesells.com. Reese, the tailback, off the left tip of Walter. Walter looking right. Now he's going to fire across the middle. The pass falls incomplete. A dangerous pass. He was looking for Corey Freeman. And Oberlin fortunate that wasn't picked off.
As that's not the first time we've seen the pass come in a little bit high towards Corey Freeman over the middle. And even with the safety lurking behind, obviously you don't want to go too high because of that, but when he's looking for a catch in traffic right there, you kind of want to get that as low as you can, and maybe you can avoid the hit and still hang on to the ball if he's able to get to it.
Gabe DiFilippo put his hands on his helmet, could not believe he couldn't come down with that pick. 2nd down and 10 coming up at the 12. Walter looking left, throwing left. He wants Williams. He jumps up, can't make the catch. It was Max Brown on the denial. A great play in the corner of the end zone to bat that away from Carmelo Williams.
And obviously some Phoenix fans they may want the flag to be thrown there, but as he got the arm on the shoulder pad, he also was able to bat the ball away. So the fact that he turned his head and got a hand on the ball, that really went a long way in helping his case for no flag on the play.
Where we're at in the game, 3rd and 10 at the 12. They'll get a couple of cracks at it here if they don't get in this try here, because it is indeed 4-down territory, no doubt about that. .7:01 left in the 3rd quarter, 35-7 Firelands. Next week, Oberlin will take on Wellington. And Firelands will square off against Clearview. They send a man in motion. It's Sakalo. They hand it off to him. Trying to get to the edge. He does. He's inside the 5, and he makes his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Oberlin. A 12-yard touchdown rush for Jackson Sakalo. And that'll make it 35-13 with 6:54 to play in the 3rd.
Yeah, great job there by just trusting his athleticism. And there may have been a block or two not picked up, but he didn't mind it, and he found a way to get inside the pylon there and get them on the board here in the second half. And as they take around 6 minutes off the clock there, or 5, excuse me.
It's a good-looking drive by an offense, again, that was just trying to get in sync and find its rhythm. Sam Lee on for the extra point. High snap, they'll get it down. The extra point is blocked. So the PAT no good, 35-13. Oberlin trailing the Firelands Falcons with 6:54 to go in the 3rd quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. Moments ago, a real nice drive put together by the Oberlin Phoenix, a 10-play, 66-yard drive, and the end result, the 12-yard touchdown rush for Jackson Sakalo. Sam Lee will tee it up at the 40-yard line, kicks it away, high end over end. It goes out of bounds on the near sideline. Procedure penalty coming up. And we'll get a look at this Firelands offense. Well, you get the impression, Max, that while they put the ball in the air a lot in the first half, we probably won't see that same thing in the second.
Can't imagine they'd want to put it in harm's way like that, especially after a nice score gets Oberlin a little closer. And I also, this is just my guessing and looking into the second half, got to wonder if Tobicash, if he'll have a lot more limited touches on the ground or designed runs just to keep him fresh here as we're just in week 2 of conference play. And I almost wonder if Firelands is going to have him re-kick this one.
They are indeed. Procedure penalty, that's going to force Oberlin to kick off from their own 35-yard line. And the kickoffs tonight from Sam Lee have all gone out of bounds. And I think Coach O'Rourke and company are at a point now where they want to see what they can do if he's able to keep it in between the lines.
Yeah, with a couple guys back there like Andrew Pollock, who we know is very capable of hitting some home run plays, and not to mention Caleb Crawford, who is mainly on defense, so we don't get to see him too much with the ball in his hands, but I'm sure he'd love a chance right here.
Lee will kick it again. High end over end. And it is retrieved inside the 20-yard line. Crawford will take it up the sideline. He's out in open space. He's off to the races. He was able to spin away for just a moment, then he was tackled at the 47 of Oberlin. And there you get a pretty good idea as to why they did not want to kick it to either Crawford or Pollock.
As they come out around 12 or 13 ahead of where they would have been if they had accepted the penalty.
So they will take over at the 48 officially. Liam Tobakash with a really big first half. He threw a touchdown pass. He also ran it in twice. Tobakash waiting for that shotgun snap from Cliff Stahl. They'll hand it off to Finn Pruitt. He takes it straight up the gut. He was stood up initially at the 44, but he doesn't go to the turf until about the 42. So pick up a nice little chunk on first down.
And I'm excited to see how they choose to use him here in the second half, because obviously guys like Campbell and a few others that we've mentioned that have been more the mainstays at running back, they're used to being the bell cow. Now you hit a point where you're trying to burn a lot of clock. We'll see how Pruitt reacts to that.
On second down, they'll give it to Pruitt again. Makes one man miss. Inside the 35 he goes, and he's finally tackled at the 31.
Well, he's clearly trying to make a case for even more carries. He doesn't mind that it's a bit of an adjustment, as he's just getting behind that offensive line, which has been mauling guys tonight.
And on this drive, you get the impression that the offensive line was making that case, hey, let us get into a groove with that running game. Let us start running downhill. Two big positive plays in this drive, making a convincing argument to head coach and offensive coordinator Ryan O'Rourke to stick with that plan. And they'll do just that, giving to Pruitt. Big hole up the middle. He takes a defender with him to the 20-yard line, and they pick up 11 yards to move the sticks again.
And at the point of attack, he was able to make Walters miss, and there was no backside linebacker peeling over to help out, and it just opened it up.
Stressing tempo. Tobakash passes left side, caught by Biuri, the tight end. Makes a man miss at the 10. Works his way across the goal line. Touchdown, Firelands. Brett Biuri on the receiving end of a 20-yard touchdown pass from Liam Tobakash, and that'll make it 41-13 Firelands.
And I was going to make a point earlier. I think we had an injury timeout before we could break down the play, but back in the second quarter, Biuri got his first catch pretty late in that, only for a yard. He's been bottled up quite a bit for being their leading receiver and having the fourth most receiving yards in the county this season, and right there, he got his hands on it and refused to go down.
Carter Jones for the extra point. Crawford puts the hold down. Extra point is up and good. 42-13 Firelands with 5:16 to play in the third quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. A nice kickoff return by Caleb Crawford gave Firelands great field position, and they capitalized. 4 plays later, 20-yard touchdown pass from Liam Tobakash to Brett Biuri, and now they lead 42-13 with 5:16 to go in the third quarter. Carter Jones on the ensuing kickoff. It'll be retrieved by Jackson Sakalo at the 21. Able to find some room past the 30-yard line, wiggles his way through the middle. He's to the 40, gets to the far sideline, and he's able to make a man miss at the 45. wiggles his way past the 40 and finally goes down. What a return by Jackson Sicalo.
We've seen a few explosive plays out of him on offense tonight and continuing to be effective in the return game. Obviously, Firelands is going to be happy with the result there on the scoreboard, but something that they'll have to improve on moving forward in conference play is this coverage team, because right now they're giving up a lot of yards to Oberlin on these kicks.
Let's see what this offense does with pretty good field position here. They had a nice drive to begin the second half. A 10-play, 67-yard drive. They took it in at a 12-yard TD rush from Jackson Sicalo. Oberlin came in 2-2 on the season with wins over both Brooklyn and Woodward. Lost last week came against Keystone. Walter in the eye. They'll pitch it left side to Corey Freeman. Freeman is stood up at the 40-yard line, just had nowhere to go. And there was the linebacker, Christian Castillo Books, who kind of slowed him down a little bit. Though he didn't make the tackle, he kind of made the play.
Well, I was surprised how fast he was able to get out there, because Walter did a great job getting the pitch out almost instantly, and I thought that was going to give Freeman a chance to escape. But just a good job by the sophomore linebacker helping shut that one down, and finished off by what looked like Landon Thomas.
Landon Thomas indeed got in there to finish the play. Junior, 6'1", 240. Second down and 10 for the Phoenix. Drew Walter will take the snap. He's going to keep this one himself. Room to run. Gets past the 35. Out to the 30-yard line. Stiff arms a defender and tackled along the numbers at the 23-yard line. What a run by Drew Walter.
Yeah, fantastic job stepping up in the pocket and just tucking it immediately. He was very decisive there, and that's what set up the rest of that run. And what you'll see at the end of this play on the replay is nasty stiff arm.
Boy, just a punishing run. But Drew Walter's been a lot of fun to watch tonight. Inside of 4 minutes to play in the third quarter. Drew Walter looking left, throws left. It's caught by Carmelo Williams. He was able to scoot over a defender after making that catch. He kind of leaped over Caleb Crawford. They'll spot him down at the 14-yard line, 2nd and 1.
And I know, obviously, given the situation we've mentioned, there's a bit more of a cushion in letting them take the underneath. But moving forward, I think they may have found a formula and a recipe here on offense that they can try to carry over into their next couple games. And then, obviously, a team like Wellington, you mentioned they have them up next. That's a real physical outfit as well. And who knows, maybe you can use some of your athletes in this kind of fashion in that game.
It's a bit of a rivalry game, right? Given how close they are in proximity. 2nd down and 1. Walter will take the snap. Looks left. Lobs it up. Back of the end zone. Looking for Williams. That pass had a bit too much air under it. It falls incomplete, out of bounds.
Definitely like the idea there, taking your shot on 2nd and short. And it was put in the only spot where maybe Williams or nobody could get it. So right idea there, and you still have a 3rd and 1 here, very manageable to set up with 2 plays to work with, obviously.
You talked about that Wellington matchup, and during our interview with Coach Washington, he had mentioned that the middle school was all fired up because they beat Wellington last week. A big part of that process of growing the program. A keeper. Walter gets the first down, takes it past the 10, and he's corralled along the hash for another first down. Now they're set up 1st and goal.
I'm convinced sometimes when he's lined up at quarterback, he still thinks he's on the defensive side of the ball at linebacker, just seeking out contact and easily moving the chains there.
1st and goal for the Phoenix at the 7-yard line. Trying to make it 2 scores on as many drives in this third quarter. Well, this is a different team, I think, than many anticipated at the start of the season. You consider the losing streak and the way things have been going, they've certainly changed the way a lot of people look at them. Walter will keep it again. Takes it up the middle, inside the 5, and he's taken down close to the 3.
It worked so well the play before. May as well keep trying to hammer away at that front. And, that offensive line, they're creating some gaps. Even if they're not blowing guys off the ball at the moment, they're still creating some creases in, and that's enough for a guy like Walter to get some positive yardage out of it.
In the Lorain County Friday Night Lights, there were some fans of Keystone talking about how impressed they were with Oberlin and just how much that whole scene has changed. And even though that was a lopsided score, they came away saying, this is a lot of fun to watch this team, and it's fun to see this team competing again at a level a lot of teams in this conference expect. They've done that same thing here tonight.
Yeah, it can be a bit of foreshadowing for the upcoming years here in the LCA, and definitely have to be a team you're aware of moving forward.
Walter on the keeper one more time, trying to squeeze his way through a hole on the right side, but he stopped at the 3-yard line, didn't pick up any yardage. 3rd and goal coming up.
And that time Smith finally he was able to close in on that one. He'd seen enough of Walter, and that's definitely one of the few guys that can match him and outsizes him up there in that box.
45 seconds remain in this 3rd quarter. It's 3rd down and goal at the 3. Trying for a 3rd trip into the end zone tonight. Reese, the tailback, was on the left side. They move him to the right side. They'll send a man in motion. It's Sakalo. Sakalo on the carry, trying to get across the edge. He wiggles his way across the goal line. Touchdown. 2nd trip to the end zone for Jackson Sakalo. A 3-yard TD rush to make it 42-19.
Heads up play by Walter. Looked like he had to corral the snap there, and it didn't throw off the timing of the play at all. So great execution and just a strong finish by him, and second time we've seen that tonight out of Sakalo.
Yeah, it was really the same play that they used to get into the end zone on their last drive, just to the other end of the field. Sam Lee to try and split the uprights here and make it 42-20. High snap, they get it down. The kick is on the way, and it is good. 42-20. Firelands on top of Oberlin with 18 seconds left in the 3rd quarter on the Lorain County Sports Network. An 8-play, 40-yard drive for the Oberlin Phoenix. The end result, a 3-yard touchdown rush from Jackson Sakalo. It's his 2nd trip to the end zone tonight. It's a 42-20 game, 18 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Lee with an onside kick. It'll be retrieved by Firelands at the 50-yard line. A nice retrieval by the freshman, Hayden Tobakash, who's played a pretty big role in special teams tonight.
Yeah, and obviously, a typical night, you're going to mention his brother's name more, Liam, at the quarterback spot. But like you said, he's making his impact felt in that 3rd phase of the game, sometimes forgotten about, but all important. And they secure a nice starting spot for this drive.
Coach O'Rourke had talked about that during our Stewart's TV and Appliance pregame show, mentioning that they've trusted Tobakash a bit more to make some more of those reads as they'll give this one to Pruitt. He takes it straight up the middle past the 40 to the 37 of Oberlin. So they pick up 13 yards right away. And that, I believe, is going to take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. It will. At the end of 3, it is Firelands 42, Oberlin 20, live and free on YouTube on the Lorain County Sports Network. Three down, one to go here at Oberlin College. Firelands has the upper hand, 42-20. They lead Oberlin as we get set to start the fourth quarter of play. Andy Bulbarch and Max Drummond on the call. Edwin Vereen, our director, Sam Sobacol on the camera. First play of the fourth quarter will be run from the Oberlin 37, 1st and 10 for the Falcons. This time they'll give it to Pruitt. Got to cross the left edge, past the 25 he goes, punishing his way up to the 23-yard line. Max, it has been all downhill running for Finn Pruitt here in the second half.
And he's responded to something his team has needed here in the second half, and that's to eat up some yards and take some tough hits. But honestly, he's shown a lot of burst, and you know, you don't want to speculate too much, but he may be earning himself a more permanent spot in that rotation than he had heading into the night.
Of course, Jimmy Berry lost for the season before they played their first game. Damari Campbell had handled a pretty hefty chunk of the load in the rushing game. They lost him in the very first play from scrimmage tonight. They've put the ball in the hands of Finn Pruitt a lot in this one. It's a lot of responsibility for this complex running game, which is pretty diversified as well. Liam Tobicash grabs the snap, and Pruitt gets the call again. Straight up the middle he goes, and he marches his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Firelands. A 23-yard trip to the end zone for Pruitt, and that makes it 48-20.
And I'll tell you what, we talked a little bit in some of the breaks here in the second half about where we may be leaning for our Zabo Apparel Player of the Game. And at first, it felt like Tobicash. Pruitt right now is trying to make a case late here. He may be able to overtake him. Who knows?
And from the way it looks, they're not going to kick an extra point. They'll keep the offense on the field going for 50 here tonight. They're going to line up Pruitt behind Tobicash. Tobicash will give to Pruitt again, and he's able to march his way across the goal line. The two-point conversion is good. 50-20 is our count with a minute gone from this fourth quarter clock on the Lorain County Sports Network. Running clock will be in play here momentarily. That was the reason why Firelands went for two on that last play. Now they've got a 30-point lead on Oberlin, 50-20. And on the mark from our head referee, Jeffrey Abshire, he will spin that clock. He'll do just that. Carter Jones, the squib kick. This will bounce past the 30-yard line. Carmelo Williams is quick to corral it near the 26. That ball got some serious run on that. Hit the turf close to the 50-yard line, then it rolled 25 yards down the field.
Yeah, it's the, I think if you open up the dictionary, look for squib, that may be the video link you find. I mean, that was hot to handle.
Coming up During our post-game show, we've got some awards to give away. Valley Chevrolet Drive of the game. Zabo Apparel Company Player of the game. We'll rehash the scoring and the first half, or I should say the stats from this one as well. Oberlin Phoenix, they've looked pretty good offensively here in the second half. Trying to keep that ball rolling here in the fourth quarter. The third quarter, they had 2 offensive drives that both resulted in points. Walter setting up to pass, looks left, throws left, incomplete. Looked like he and Jackson Sakalo were not on the same page.
Yeah, that one drifted on him a bit, and we've seen a lot of success here in the second half when they've gone to those receivers that have received the cushion on the outside away from some of the safeties and the linebackers, but it's mainly been to his top target, Carmelo Williams, so definitely understand trying to work it to a few other guys, though, maybe try to extend that over into the weeks to come, because after some teams get their hands on this film tonight, they're going to probably not only have the corners play a little closer on Williams, but may even have some safeties hang over top because he's been a pretty big threat out there.
And I think that certainly makes it an easy decision when Drew Walter is surveying the field, right? Making some of those pre-snap reads. If he sees that he's getting that big of a cushion, that makes him an easy target to go to pretty quickly. It'll be a keeper. Walter with room up the middle. He's able to lower his shoulder and booms his way up to about the 32.
And now we see him hit 9 carries, so he's almost in the double digits, and that's after only having 1 in the first half. So I think moving forward, if you're an Oberlin fan or if you're facing off against them, you may have to expect to see him to get a little more workload early on in games and try to impact it that way.
Inside of 8.5 minutes to play. 3rd down and 5 for the Phoenix at their own 32-yard line. Sakalo comes in motion, and they'll give it to him. Trying to stretch the play to the near side. He scoots by a defender, works his way up to the 38-yard line. He's got enough for a first down.
That was an odd-looking play just because it looked like he had been strung out. There was even a couple Falcons I thought had a nice angle on him. D. Filippo specifically looked like he may have been able to bring him down for a loss, but almost let up, or he just didn't leave his feet at least. Ends up helping move the chains there for Oberlin.
And these are the little battles you have to win, right? Even in games you're down by 30 points. You're not just going to roll over even though you're faced with a running clock. These are the little battles, the things you're winning now that maybe you weren't winning last year or the year before. The fun little things it's good to see happen to a program that's missed out on that in years past. Pass goes right side, caught by Williams, and Williams will get up to the 49-yard line. Took a couple of different Falcons to knock him down. And I believe he's got first down yardage. He does.
Yeah, that's a creative, not just a call, but a movement there by Walter. As soon as he gets the snap, he kind of tucked the ball away and turned. And that got the linebacker who was bracketing Williams as they were trying to almost double him. It froze him for a moment, bought just enough time to open up that throwing window.
1st and 10 again for Oberlin at their own 49-yard line. Williams on the short side of the field. Pass goes left side to Freeman. That's incomplete. Oh, it looked like he had a little room there if they were able to complete that pass to him, but that sailed over his head.
Yeah, Sakalo was leading, had a nice lead block going there, and if Freeman was able to get that in his hands, we already know what he's capable of doing, and it definitely could have moved closer to that first down marker.
Corey Freeman had their first touchdown of the game. His came on a 19-yard touchdown rush. Just a flurry of big plays. Over the course of 5 plays, there were 2 fumbles and a touchdown rush. 4th quarter clock ticking inside of 6 minutes. 2nd down and 10. It's a keeper. Walter barrels his way past the 50-yard line, and he goes down at the 45 of Firelands.
And got to believe we're still going to see a heavy dose of him and try to take some of the pressure off of his arm. As you can just tell, he's a lot more comfortable and natural as a runner, and it shows, especially on plays like that where he carried a couple Falcons to end the play.
Entering this one, he had 120 yards on the ground, averaging nearly 4 yards a pop. And they have called on him a little more in the second half to run the ball.
And the average hasn't suffered. I mean, he's right under 7 yards a pop right now on the ground.
3rd down and 4 from the Firelands 45. Walter looking, fires it down the field. He's got Williams open, but he overshot him by just a bit. They were looking for the home run ball, and Max, they just missed it.
Yeah, and it comes off of a great stutter there to start the route by Williams, and that's when Walter obviously wants back, and he's going to want it back even more when they see that on the film. I mean, he didn't even need the pump fake, and the corner still fell for Williams' little cutback, because we've seen those hitches all second half here.
4th down coming up. It'll be 4th down and 4.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be without Williams for this 4th down, as he had to run a long way to try to catch up to that one.
Brian Boone will come into the game. They actually have him lined up on the near side on 4th down and 4. Walter will grab the high snap, rolling out left, looking down the field, fires left side. The pass is caught. Jackson Sakala will grab it at the 35-yard line to pick up a fresh set of downs.
What a great job there to be patient by Walter. As his first read was in the flat, they didn't need to get very far, but he was able to be patient on it, sit on it, and then find his receiver sitting down right in between the zones there.
Sakala lost something in his helmet, so he had to take it off. But I think he's going to be okay to stay in the game here. Almost looked like something fell out of his helmet. This offense continuing to move the ball right down the field. This drive began back at their own 27-yard line.
And we've seen a lot of that here in the second half. Both drives very lengthy and ending in scores.
Walter will run it. Room to run up the middle. Inside the 30, and he's corralled at the 26.
Right there, you've touched on it a few times here in the second half, but doing the little things right. Jason Reese, it hasn't exactly been his night running the ball and getting too many carries, but right there leads the way and takes on the linebacker, as it looked like, yeah, Castillo's books. He had to take him head on, and that's not an easy blocking assignment, but he was able to seal it and help open it up for Walter right there for the 7-yard gain.
Yeah, Christian Castillo Books came into this game as Fireland's leading tackler with 29 stops. 2nd and 3 at the Fireland's 26-yard line. Walter looking right, throwing right. He wants Williams in the corner of the end zone, but the pass falls incomplete. Great coverage yet again from Caleb Crawford.
And that's one, they've had a lot of great connections here in the second half, not just with Williams, but with the receivers as a whole. That's just the one kind of play they haven't been able to hit tonight is the deep ball or a go route down the sideline. But you can tell it's there. They've got the athletes to make it happen, so it just may take a few more weeks to find that connection.
Inside of 2 minutes to go now, coming up on 90 seconds remaining in this one. 50-20, Firelands leading Oberlin. Falcons will go to 2-3 on the season, and Oberlin will be looking at the same record. Walter on the keeper, past the 25, drags a couple of defenders inside the 25 to the 22, and they'll move the sticks again.
And he's been fearless and he's done whatever the offensive coordinator has asked here tonight, and doing that and splitting the duties as leading the defense at linebacker. We can't be overstated how impressive that is.
Timeout called by Oberlin with 1:03 to play in this one. Again, the running clock in play. That happened after the last touchdown for Firelands. They went to 2 to put the running clock in motion, and who could blame them? They want to get out of here as fast as possible without anybody else getting injured because of all those injury issues. And they've played a really good game here tonight, given all the adversity they've been forced to deal with the injuries. They had a couple guys go down earlier, but they've played really well here tonight, gearing up for a big matchup next week when they take on Clearview.
And that's a Clearview team that's going to be, last we checked, as they likely could pick up their first win of the season tonight. They're going to be coming in feeling a bit confident, like we talked about how Oberlin has felt to start this season and finding that the winning ways. So that'll lead to a really interesting dynamic in that matchup, and excited to see how both of those teams respond.
They'll run the clock coming out of that timeout inside of a minute to play. First down and 10. Drew Walter will grab the snap. This time they give to Reese. He's able to take it inside the 20-yard line before he's tackled at the 19. Well, these guys do not want to be denied here. You know, they want to get that personnel in and out coming from the near sideline. They want to set up shop. They want one more trip to the end zone. And if they're able to get points on this drive, it would be a season high in points for the Phoenix, but they've got to get a move on it here, as now we're looking at 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, a couple late subs definitely didn't help them there.
Drew Walter will give to Reese again. Reese has nowhere to go. He ran right into the waiting arms of Logan Parker, a senior defensive tackle, who stopped him for no gain, and that will be the last play of the contest. Final score in this one, 50-20. Firelands beats Oberlin. We'll take a quick timeout, and we'll come back to wrap this one up for you on the post-game show on the Lorain County Sports Network. Well, that's a wrap on Week 5 of the high school football season. We are officially halfway through. Your final score in this one, 50-30. The Oberlin Phoenix fall at home to the Firelands Falcons. Andy Bullbarch and Max Drummond on the call for you all night long. Captain of our ship, Edwin Vereen, the director, and Sam Sovakul working the camera tonight. Well, it was one of those games, Max, coming in, I think, at the beginning of the season when we put the schedule together. We weren't quite sure what to expect. Things weren't going so well for Oberlin. Then all of a sudden, they win 2 games. There's a different vibe surrounding this program. And sure, they lost by 30 points in this one. There was a running clock. They were marching down the field at the end of the game with a chance to put up some more points, but just kind of ran out of time. A 30-point loss, it didn't really feel like that here tonight. Firelands played really well, again, given all their injuries and some of the things that they're going through right now. But Oberlin, despite the loss, I still thought played pretty well.
Yeah, and I think it came down to, it showed in the final score that Firelands was able to take advantage of a few more opportunities and some short fields and, a couple of mistakes that Oberlin made early on. But as the game went on, you could tell the Phoenix, they really started to settle in, and especially on offense in that second half. I mean, 3 drives, all at least 8 plays. 2 of them they scored on. I think if they, like you said, had a few more minutes or if it wasn't running clock, they could have certainly finished that one off and had a 3rd scoring drive. So just a very strong showing there, especially in that second half for Oberlin.
Yeah, because in that second half, you made the comment off air. Look, it isn't like Firelands is taking their starters out of the game. They kept them in the entire contest, and that's a tribute to just how well Oberlin played here tonight, because for the last few years, this was a game I think a lot of teams in the conference will look at and say, okay, you know what? It's a game we think we can win. For some of the top-tier teams in the conference, they look at it as this is a chance for maybe to get some young guys in the mix. That wasn't the case here tonight. Again, that's a testament to Coach Kenny Washington and how things have certainly changed here, and I think a lot of teams are starting to take notice.
Yeah, and it puts them back on a lot of teams' maps and realize you've got to have you have to play a solid game, and you can't just mail it in, or you can't have a lot of mistakes, penalties, and things of that nature. And we saw a little bit of that tonight, but, as the game went on, I think it also was cleaned up by both sides, as we didn't see as many of the yellow flags come out, and I think that speaks to getting a lot more comfortable here on these Friday nights for a pair of teams that they're trying to come up and improve here in the LC8.
Well, look, and let's take a look at the other end of that spectrum. For Firelands, they come out on top, 50 points here tonight. They win 50-20. That's 2 straight wins. 90 points the last 2 weeks after they put down Brookside 40-20 last week. They've got Clearview on deck next week. Now they're playing with a bit more confidence. You never want to be faced with a scenario where you're losing one body after another due to injury. They lost another one tonight in their tailback, Damari Campbell, but they were able to adhere to that next man up mentality with Finn Pruitt taking most of the carries here tonight. And as a result, they put up a season best 50 points. Now they're really starting to roll in conference play.
Yeah, and they're doing it at the right time. And they kind of had a similar thing happen last year where they opened 0-4, and then they close out the season going 4-2. So they're definitely moving in the right direction once again this season.
No question about that. Well, we have some awards to give away. First one is our Player of the Game Award, brought to you by Zabo Apparel Company. Be game day ready all year long with Zabo Apparel Company. And well, this is a pretty close race down the stretch, but we're going to give it to Liam Tobikash, the quarterback for the Firelands Falcons. Made it happen with his arm, and he made it happen with his feet here tonight.
Yeah, so coming into the game, he had 6 total touchdowns. He had 4 tonight in just the one game, 2 on the ground, 2 through the air, as we saw him use his arm a lot more than we expected. And also, because of the injury we saw happen not just the first half, but in the first play of the game to Campbell, he had to step up a bit more and handle a lot on the ground as well. So he was a threat with his arms and his legs tonight.
We'll get to some final stats here in just a moment, but Tobikash was all over the place. On a night where you score 50 points, you expect the quarterback will be in the mix for almost every single one of those scores, and he had a hand in all but just a couple in this one. So congratulations to junior quarterback Liam Tobikash. He's our Zabo Apparel Company Player of the Game. Now it's time to take a look at our Drive of the Game. There were lots of candidates for this one as well. Drive of the Game brought to you by Valley Chevrolet. Keep on driving with Valley Chevrolet in Wellington. Firelands set the tone. in the early goings of this one. They had pretty good field position to start their first drive. They went 60 yards on 7 plays, and they scored in a 39-yard touchdown pass from Tobicash to Andrew Powlick. That kind of set the tone for the entire evening.
Yeah, and it really, you could tell, applied some pressure to Oberlin, and it may have led to some of the mistakes and them pressing on their side when they got on offense. So it definitely kind of laid it out for how tonight was going to go for the Falcons.
Well, let's take a look at some final numbers in this one. Stats brought to you by Al Januzzi CPA. It's all about the numbers. That's Al Januzzi CPA.
Well, I can't speak to last week, but with the final score, it seemed like a bit of a slugfest. This week we opened it up a bit more as for Firelands, our player of the game, Tobicash, 12 of 18 through the air, 152 yards, the 2 touchdowns, and he also had 45 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then the leading rusher for all players tonight, Finn Pruitt, with 12 for 110 and 2 scores. And then over on the Oberlin side, Walter did what he could. He battled 9 of 24, 95 yards through the air to his leading receiver, of course, Carmelo Williams, 5 catches, 66 yards. Excited to see what more can come from him on the offensive side of the balls. Obviously, we know what he can do on defense, but if they can get him going a bit more on offense, it could go a long way.
Yeah, this is a much different feel to this Oberlin team. So hats off. Even though in a losing effort, this looks like a much different program than I think the ones we saw the last couple of years. Firelands gets their second win of the season. Both teams are 2-3 at the end of this one. Next week, we will be back at Dan Reeser Stadium at Elyria Catholic. We were just there last week, and boy, talk about a different feel. A winless EC team going into their game last week that we covered against Vermilion. They put one on Padua tonight. So now they've got back-to-back wins going into that game against St. Vincent St. Mary next week. Lorain County's 4 Horsemen will be riding into Dan Reeser Stadium next Friday night, the first Friday in the fall of 2025. Pregame coverage begins at 6:30, kickoff scheduled for 7 o'clock. Max, any final thoughts before we say goodnight?
Well, great to be back with the Lorain County 4 Horsemen, and looking forward to doing it for the second half of the regular season.
It's going to be a lot of fun, my friend. It always is. We've got some great matchups in the second half of the season. Again, your final score tonight, Firelands 50 and Oberlin 20. Lots of people to thank before we sign off. First and foremost, a big thanks to all of you for tuning in to tonight's broadcast. Wherever you tuned in from out there tonight, we appreciate you making us a part of your Friday evening festivities. I'd like to say thanks to all of our sponsors. We can't do this without you guys. We certainly appreciate all of our sponsors. We'd like to say thanks to the entire staff up here at Oberlin College. It was just great to see so many people here I hadn't seen in many years. We had Coach Kenny Washington come up here to the broadcast position, too. That's not something you see very often. It was great to see Coach Washington and everybody up here in the press box. We appreciate their help and hospitality. Our thanks to Coach Washington and Coach O'Rourke, both head coaches, for getting us the information we needed to get ready for the broadcast. And absolutely positively, no broadcast is ever complete without me saying thanks to the entire crew. Max Drummond, my tag team partner, for his colorful analysis throughout the night. Sam Sovacool, working the camera as only he can. And the captain of our ship, the director, Edwin Vereen, for getting us on and keeping us on, making sure that you could catch every last bit of this one. One final time, your final score, Firelands 50, Oberlin 20, for Max Drummond, Sam Sovacool, and Edwin Vereen. This is Andy Bulbarch saying thanks again for tuning in to the Lorain County Sports Network. We'll talk to you again at 6:30 next Friday night.